Hi,
Hi.
guys.
Ewan.
Hi.
I'll see if I can share us out a little bit.
Yeah, you're still doing the intro on the
Metaphysical
group.
Chicken should be off. There we
Yeah.
are.
I'm going to share it in my group.
Okay. I should be off. Let me.
Oh, yeah, the 3 of us are on.
Yep, there we are.
How do I share it in my group?
You go to Metaphysical Chicken. You're going to have Metaphysical Chicken open, and make sure you don't turn on. And there's a 30-second delay, which will drive you nuts. And make sure you don't turn on the speaker, or you'll be reverbing. That's what I was doing the other day.
Yeah, I just shared it into my group, and I'm watching us in my group. See.
And I will be sharing out. This is Teresa Crabtree and Katrina. Katarina, I do it all the time. No.
That's okay. You Americans don't know how to say my name.
Katerina, I know how to say Katerina.
That's all right.
I forget my name half the
So
time.
how is everybody?
Doing great. I'm going to try and
Oh
get
my
Now,
God,
you were
we've got
talking-
some people. We've got Carolyn Thomas on. Can you guys share us out to all the groups?
I'm trying here.
I'll share. What you can do is you can either maximize the picture and then copy and paste it, and then usually I use 2 screens. I'm going to have to get the 2 screens. I'm going to have to go back because it's driving me crazy.
What's the matter?
Oh, there's a 30-second delay or so.
Oh, that's okay. That's normal. That's normal.
I know. Share now. No, I don't dare share with my friends. The Pentecostal family will go a little bit nuts.
Samantha's saying I don't see a share button. It's there. If you're going to Metaphysical,
there
is a share button.
Yeah, you can't share from a private site unless you cut and paste. Okay.
Yeah, no, you need to go into the Metaphysical Chicken to share from.
Yeah, you've got to go into Metaphysical Chicken.
Yeah. And you've got a Facebook user, so do they need to come into the
Yeah,
group?
the Facebook user is actually up. If they maximize my group, we can find out who the Facebook user is. I can see them in, if you go to have Metaphysical Chicken open on another screen. Sorry, guys, we're still working this stuff out.
Oh, that's Yvonne. Hello, Yvonne. That Facebook user is Yvonne. So
cool.
So she needs to join the Metaphysical Chicken group. Is that how it works? I don't know.
No. What she has to do is go to StreamYard.com or something like that. StreamYard /Facebook.com/StreamYard and give StreamYard permission. I think if they maximize the picture, it's up there in the right-hand side. I'm sharing this out right now. Why don't you two ladies talk?
Oh, yeah, it's up on the top. Yeah. She just clicks on there's a link on top of the, she just clicks on there. Hello.
Why don't you guys talk and I will share this out.
Okay.
We got Teresa on today. Teresa can maybe introduce herself if she.
Alrighty, I think I'm doing something right over there.
Are you?
Okay, there. See you over there. Okay, now I know. Now I'm here. I'm a pro now. Woo-hoo.
You got it handled.
I'll accidentally hit the right button. Woo-hoo. Do I have to wear the earbuds, or only if it get a reverb?
Yeah. If you're using a speaker, it's probably going to be picked up by your mic.
Okay.
Unless you know you can do it without it.
I'll put it back in. So, how's that? Am I getting anything?
No, that's fine.
That's fine. I can't hear you, of course. Was that doing any kind of reverb?
Nope, you're good.
No, that's fine.
I was the one doing it last week after counseling everybody not to do it. I went ahead and did it.
Okay, I got it unplugged now. So what's it doing now?
You're fine as far as I know.
I don't have to wear them. I won't. I'm not used to them, and I don't like them.
I get you.
If I need them, I got them. Okay, I'm ready. We're ready to start, everybody. Let's go. Where's the show? Where's the popcorn?
Yes. So what shall we be talking about? What were you talking about, Tom?
I was talking about, I would like her to introduce herself and talk about what she does, and for you to reintroduce yourself and talk about what you do, within, you both do very similar work. That's why I'm so excited to have you both on here. You both deal through the dark and with, go ahead. You tell it.
All right. Well, as you can see, if you can read, that's Teresa Crabtree. And what the main work that I do is called the Soul Cleanse. And what that is, I have a very powerful team that I work with on higher dimensions. And we do entity releasement work and also energy work. And when we go in and do the cleaning, you get it. You get everything. They work on DNA. First thing they do is they go in and they clear out all of these thought forms that's in our soul energy field that that's been there since the beginning of our soul. So let's go back millions of years, some of this stuff that we have. And Katerina, before we started, we were talking about that, how she just recently did a regression and it went back to guilt to millions of years ago. So all that energy is still stuck in there. So what they do is the first thing is they clear all that out, all the non-beneficial stuff that's not going to affect our lifetime right now and anything else that and it also goes 3 generations back, 3 generations forward, actually more than that, but that's the main ones for this particular lifetime. So it clears out a lot of that non-beneficial stuff that we've accumulated through the years. And with that, people usually they get clarity and they can start getting inner peace. And once you have clarity, then you can start making better decisions. So it's very, very powerful. I do all my work through emails, so I don't even do phone or anything. Yeah, and it allows me to do a lot more people. And I do all my work also by donation, so you pay afterwards. If I didn't do anything for you or you don't think I did anything for you, then you don't pay anything. So I have 100% guaranteed money back. If you give me your money, I'm going to keep it. So, only give it if you're feeling something. And so that's the basic.
Can I do a commercial announcement here? Sharing is caring. Please share me out. I shared us out to Rise Above. If you're here, please share us out. And to your different groups and things. You guys do so much better job. I was doing it and I couldn't remember the name of the groups I wanted to do it to. But can I tell my story about Teresa? I was starting to tell it before.
Not the whole thing. We don't want them to know about that, that criminal thing that we did, We cleared that now.
That was another life. But
probably a few.
yeah. I think we've been burned to the stake, drowned, and had our heads chopped off once or twice. I don't recall, but anyway, I met her, and then there's all these little things. She lived not that far from where I live now. And it's weird with all these little connections. And I almost moved to the town she lived in when I first used her service down in Florida. And anyway, I don't remember how I connected with her.
I do. I looked it up. I do. It was, you found me through one of a Facebook group, and it was on November 1st, 2018. So there we go.
I know,
that's the facts now.
See, she knows all. There's
you tell the rest of it. Hey, people, we were talking about this in the green room before.
Yeah. But anyway, so I had her do the reading. I didn't understand, and she's exactly right. The donation afterwards, I didn't understand how much work she put into it, and I didn't donate enough. But anyway, I knew the moment she done it. I was working with somebody. Helping some friends for a few bucks an hour. I'm retired. Pull old square nails and nails out of old barn boards that we were repurposing. That's their business, is creating things out of barn boards. And they're Christian, but real, and I know the one guy from Alcoholics Anonymous I belong to. And we're in there. And all of a sudden, man, I just felt this golden light in there. Listening to contemporary Christian music I hate. It was the most beautiful music I'd ever heard. This golden light was flowing through the radio. And it was just, I could just feel it. Oh, God. And I had a spiritual experience. It was kind of homo, man. So I'm like, and I go home afterwards and I check my email, and sure as shit, Teresa Crabtree had done my soul cleanse. And then she gave me this great big list of instructions, what she found in this great big list of instructions of things I should do. Of course, I did none of the things she told me, suggested I do, really. But I did read on some of her page. You know, she's got different things. If you go to her page, and I want you to take in Metaphysical Chicken, Teresa, I want to make sure that, or you guys link it to me. I want to make sure that your pages are linked because I don't know how to do it in StreamYard yet. I want to make sure that they're able to find you, or this has not very much purpose to me. I want them to be able to find you and find your services. But anyways, I went home and I did this, and the hangover lasted for a couple days, and then went back to my same normal, negative, nasty self, you know. But
That means you didn't do the work.
Thank you. Both of them are big about doing the work. So anyway, but this changed, and a whole bunch of things changed. Like I started a recovery home about this time, and it just took off, and we got good people involved. A whole bunch of good things were happening, but I wasn't changing what I was doing. But it put me on the path of the light as far as I'm concerned. So I kept going back to her for soul cleanses. And finally she said, hey, stop that shit. Your problem are not soul. Your problem is you're not doing the work. Your negative habits, you need to change that shit up. Quit bothering me. So if you think she does it for money, that ought to tell you something.
Well,
But
let me tell
that was
you,
my experience.
we know when somebody's not doing the work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I've got two of you now.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
This is
Yes.
plus Karen.
Yvonne, you need to go into Metaphysical Chicken to share it. The share link is in there. Yes, no, you got to do the work. I did some work today on myself. Like I was talking about to Teresa and Tom before we came on. I spent an hour or so with my coach, and we went back to a galactic time, and then we moved forward into Salem's Lot. Then we went back to galactic, and then we went back into Salem's Lot, and I removed the guilt that was created in the galactic wars, which stemmed into my Salem's Lot life, and now I've removed it from my energy field, which means I do not need to recycle back through that loop again. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
But you've got to do the work, because no one can do it for you. I can take you to these places, but you got to feel it. You've got to see it, and you got to hear it, and you do all those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just imagine that I'm with you, but you got to do the work. And I watched because I recorded my session, and I watched it again, and I'm telling you, I feel lighter, brighter.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I can take the next step, because what I learned today was, at some level, we all feel guilty about wanting more than what we have, and that we are worthy of the abundance that we can't see, and that what happens is the guilt makes us not feel worthy of it. Mm-hmm. So then we stay on the cycle of what I call the bad neighborhood or the shadow, until you decide to feel worthy of it. And I'm telling you, the world is a reflection of that right now, because we do not get taught how to love our own power within ourselves. And it's the power that's creating the toxic wars that happens on the planet.
Yeah. And a lot of these major storms and stuff too.
Yeah. But it's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, you gotta have to be willing to jump down those rabbit holes, and they can be really dark, ugly places, right?
What I love about
but then you've got
sorry.
you've got Teresa and I, us beautiful light souls that jump in the rabbit hole with you. And we're there next to you. Even though you can't see us, we're there with you. So I do this in person and on remote. So I do it on Zoom, like this, or in person. So I do see the people that, that come and see me. Teresa, what you doing?
All right,
Playing on
I'm
the
trying to
computer.
get it all on the same screen because it's not working with my laptop as well. 'Cause I'm like, so now you won't know. You just have to watch my eyes going back and forth.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good idea, but
Brooke had like 5 screens, and it was watching us on Twitch and everything else, and had it.
Don't worry.
Yeah, and he used to be like, he looked crazy. It's all over the place.
I already am crazy. I don't need to look anymore.
Yeah, she was worried. We've spent 2.5, 3 hours talking one night. Both our guides told us to shut up an hour before we
You want to shut up for over an hour.
Yeah, I was told it's time to end this now.
Sorry,
We
guys.
just kept going. We just kept going. But yeah, she I tell you what, she must have been Australian in a former life, because she's got about as much social filter as a lot of the Australian ladies I know.
You're not going to see it all though today.
Yeah.
I'm still
He
trying
says,
to
I've got to watch it. I've got to watch it. I've got to watch it. I'll lose all my clients.
Yeah. Well, it really is true sometimes, because sometimes people just put me on this pedestal and think that I'm this holy thing, which we're all holy and all, but you can still say cuss words. It's
from your videos, and
yeah.
And her hair was longer, and she's a very trim, slender lady and everything. And she did all these videos. That's right. Buddy.
No, that's not the videos now.
But now she had, she had long hair and everything was in a nice dress. And then she whacked her hair off, and I told her, "Hey, baby." And she asked me how old I was, and she says, "Yeah, you're out of my age range." But so I knew she had mentioned she was a Catholic, so I says, "Oh, you're a nice little Catholic girl, huh?" And she lives in an apartment building now, and it's the middle of the night. It's the middle of the night. It was the middle of the night, and she's hollering, "I was not a willing bride of Christ."
All I said was "hell no," and I said it kind of loud, and I'm like, I forgot. I just moved to an apartment.
Oh well, I've sworn.
No, you were hollering. You were hollering. I was not a willing bride of Christ.
Well, that's right. I have to agree with Kim here. Nothing wrong with Aussie women. No way.
I love it.
Built
I
with
love it.
We're very strong women, aren't we, Kim?
Oh yeah.
I'll
have to look at the comments.
Oh well, a lot of us don't take a lot of shit. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
What I love about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's in our DNA. To be quite honest.
We've been around this quite a few times.
I love that. No, I love the Australian women. Like Carly was going to come on, but she's got a paid reading she had to do. She was going to.
I think we're seen as more laid back, aren't we? We're seen as laid back. We're seen as oh well, another day type of thing. But there is a serious side of us.
Caroline,
we don't.
Go ahead.
Well, I like to think that we don't take a lot of shit from anybody, but like anyone in the world, you got to get rid of those little shadows before you can do that, right? But yeah, no, I'm proud to be an Aussie. I love my Aussiness.
And I'm not an Aussie, although I act like the Wizard of Oz at times.
Oh gosh,
great movie.
So, you know what I reckon we should do? Is someone in the audience like to ask a question, and we'll just have a conversation about it? What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good.
Right, off you go. Got a question? So, okay, let's see what Spirit wants to say. We'll just have a conversation. The last couple of days, since Wednesday, the strong messages that I've been getting from my team. And for those that don't know, I speak to Archangel Gabriel directly. I'm very conscious of our communication, and we telepathically speak. I have a galactic being from Andromeda. His name is Zorian. He's my galactic twin flame, and we consciously speak to each other. So I've been mentored and trained by the Galactic Federation to speak to energy directly. So last couple of days, what I've been getting is that we have to stay in our lane. We have to stay in the center of our energies because there's too much chaos going on in the world. It's a distraction. So you got to stay centered. You got to look within your own self and build your own. You build your world according to your process, and then you show the rest of the world. You show the people around you how that process works, and that's how we help everyone better themselves. We're not doing readings, so guides and angels. Well, you know, where am I located? I'm in Adelaide, South Australia. So when you look at the map of Australia, I'm down south between Perth and Victoria, or Western Australia and Melbourne, right between there, down the bottom of the map. Australia. Been here for close to 20 years, and I did come from Sydney, New South Wales. That's where I am. I've been working with spirit. I woke up at 14 years old, and at 29 years old, I was given a mentor, a spiritual guide in the name of Navro, and he was he's an authoritarian in the Galactic Federation, and so I met him at 29 years old, and he literally saved my life, because by the time I was 29 years old, I was emotionally and mentally wrecked. I was on my own, had no support. So I basically fell on my feet, fell on my knees and asked for help. Otherwise, I said, take me now. That's kind of the conversation I had. And then 2001 to 2011, I went into self-isolation, and I was taught how to read energy, how to connect, how to do it safely, how to walk within my darkness and learn how to see in it. So I learned all about my guidance. I learned all about the angels. Well, the angels didn't really come into my life till 2019. So I was taught how to go into my darkness and learn how to walk within my darkness, to switch the light on, and so now I can help others do it. So that's a little sum up on me. I can talk to energy with light language, and I don't need to meditate or go into any. I don't need to meditate in as such as, if you want me to go into a certain energy field that needs help, I will be there straight away. So that's how I work. The shadow work, Teresa, is a big part of my work. So I help my clients become friends with their shadow. So their shadow then takes them into their darkness, and then that's how they find their little treasures of diamonds and gems. And those things are just self-worth, self-love, self-empowerment, and how to use all that in everyday living. So that's basically what I do. And yes, on the extreme, I pull out the demons in your energetic space that you can't see or even know that they're there. So I call that between the universe and your aura, and I call that border security your airport. I call it. So that you've got the universe, right, and then you've got the space, your airport, where the energies come from the universe, come through to go into your personal space, and that's where I do all the shadow work, and that's where I remove the demons from. Because if you really knew what was in your space, you'd all stop fighting with each other and learn how to clean each other up, basically.
Yeah, I do a lot of the shadow work too, and when we take out the entities, we teach you also what to do, how they got there in the first place, what your weaknesses were. And with every client, I also send a whole lot of tools and suggestions that they can use to stop that from happening, which is all about awakening, and it's all about doing your inner work. If you don't do your inner work, those entities, even the Bible talks about it. Jesus said if he could throw out those demons, but they're going to come right back because they're saying,
Yeah,
there.
That's right. I agree. That's what I teach my clients too, to understand why it was there in the first place. Because all that shadow work is just another version of yourself that you have neglected and not taken care of. So then the outer regions, or the dark forces, then uses that to keep you separated from your light and separated from yourself, so you can feel unworthy of your life, right?
You're right. And Kirsty,
I have had,
Kirsty wrote, when you talk about demons or entities, is this from us not dealing with trauma? And yes, that's exactly it. And almost always, sometimes it goes way back to the past lifetimes, but almost always it's a result of early childhood trauma. And there was something else. Oh, and a lot of times too, what I'm finding out, it's not really entities. It's just our own, that anger and all the fear and all that stuff that we put in there. Those are thought forms. And when we create a thought form or a limiting belief or have a fear throughout our life, we keep adding to that same thought form, and it just gets heavier and heavier and thicker and thicker and thicker till it actually has almost a consciousness of its own. That consciousness is usually something like, if it's anger, it's just like it's an anger consciousness. I'm always angry. I'm always angry. I'm always angry. You don't even know, even if you're not angry, you don't know why you're angry. And somebody triggers something in you and you have an angry reaction that doesn't make any sense because you're not angry at that person and you couldn't care less about what they said, but it's going back and feeding that big old anger monster, which is in your energy field. So you need to get all that out and so we can get in there and we can clear a lot of that out, but you still have to find the root cause that started it and then clear that out. And that almost always, like I said, comes from early childhood trauma.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, and it also involves past life trauma.
Mm-hmm.
The things that I'm dealing with right now is galactic trauma, because we've all had experience in galactic wars where the original sins have occurred, and then what we do is we forget about it because we reincarnate and go around the circles to come back and that. So I take people back to the original, what I call the original sin, or the original source of what happened. Galactic implant is just a distortion within the shadow, within your aura that you've have not dealt with at any time, really. And it becomes, like you said, energy can become like mud. It becomes sticky. It can become muddy. It can become really like cement, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why. Have you ever noticed you're getting on with your life, everything seems to be going really well, and then suddenly you fall into a dip where something has come up for you to deal with, and you're thinking, oh my God, where did that come from? Well, that could have come back. That could have been there 10 years ago that you didn't deal with in the first place. So you've put it under your carpet as such, put it in another, you've stored it into another place in your house, because you are your house. And then it accumulates over the years. It's like leaving dirty. It's like leaving dirt under your carpet and not bringing out the vacuum cleaner and cleaning out your house, right? So this is what the energies are doing now. Everybody needs to clean their house. Otherwise, you're going to keep going around this cycle until you do. So
With that.
yes, Damn implants, yes, Lenora, damn implants. We've got them everywhere. I removed one tonight from my nose. That's been there since the galactic time. And that's just, how do you describe that? Well, you know, that implant was called guilt. So that's what implants mean.
Excuse me, Lenore does similar work, although she uses a much different method. You want to come on, Lenore? Go ahead, Guy. One of the things I wanted to say to follow up with Teresa, what I was talking about before, is I kept the same anger and the same fears, and I kept going back to the same places and experiencing the same things, and didn't change my mental and emotional habits. And the Bible says, what if you release one demon and take on 7 more? Yeah, I gotcha. That's what I was doing, kind of. You know what I mean? And then she told me to do some work, and that's both of you are very big on work, right?
Oh yeah. Somebody asked a question. I'm having a hard time scrolling down here, so I'm trying to set up on my other computer so I can get to scroll. But somebody asked something about how do you get to that point? And one of the tools on my website is called the Inner Child Healing Exercise, and it's a meditation that can help you to go back not only to early childhood but any time in your life, and you can you're asking guidance from your team at that time to help you find any limiting beliefs or fears that you created, what the root cause of this, or sometimes it'll take you right back into past earlier lives, like Katarina was saying. So on my website, it's there. I'll be back in a minute. I'm trying to. I was born blonde, so I can only do one thing at a time.
Well, let me share an example, right, in regards to so in my session today, I had to go back to a time where I got burnt at the stake. You know, it was during Salem's time. So what I've been doing lately is helping somebody. So you are your higher self when I take you back to that particular moment in your history where you stand in front of yourself while you're experiencing the trauma, and I get you to talk to you and say how you are loved, how you are fulfilling a purpose that you have agreed to fulfill, and to love yourself at this moment. And what I'm finding is that people are clearing they're filling themselves up with love again, knowing that whatever they did at that time or whatever they're doing right now is because you've agreed to do it. And we have to forgive ourselves, and we have to remove the guilt of doing these things, because we all have agreed to do what we're doing in our lives, every one of us. So there's no bad or good, it's just what is happening in that particular moment. So what I do is I take you back to that moment where it was traumatic, for example, and I get you to speak to yourself as if it's like, you know, it's like, I love you, Katarina, you're doing a great job, when you were, and letting your 10-year-old, for example, know that you turned out to be okay, that everything turned out to be okay, you know. That's other things that I do as well. I think that works really well. But you need to want to go back and look at yourself at that age, for example, and look at the pain and look at the shadow, because the pain becomes the shadow. Now there's the shadow versus the toxic shadow, which is, you know, God, there's so many layers, right? There's so many layers. The best thing to do is to trust your process, go to those that you resonate with, learn from those that you resonate with. But most importantly is you learn from yourself. So you have an experience, you learn how to resolve it, write it down. What was the results? How did you do it? And then that becomes your tools. right? So next time, if you come up with the same issue again, then you know that there are more threads of the shadow that needs to be removed, but you have tools already. So use those tools and create more from that. When you agree, Teresa.
Oh, sure do. And also, if you have the new trauma, it's not always going back. You could be in a conversation with someone, some kind of altercation or anything, and maybe they're angry, and maybe you get angry too, and then you've got this new anger coming on that you never had before. And sometimes it feels just like the other person, like you've taken on either an entity off of them or taken on their energy. So the thing to do there is to look at what triggered that. And take time. You can call it meditation, quiet time, or whatever, but just get quiet and just look at that and say, okay, what was I feeling before this happened? And maybe it was something that happened 2 years ago, and all of a sudden you've changed. Either you feel like you have an entity on you or something within you has changed. Go back to that time and look at what was happening right before that happened. And a lot of times you can get to the root cause right there. And sometimes that'll just lead you to an awareness where you can just release it. Then you say, oh, that was then, but this is now. And sometimes, and then you can look at what was happening 2 years ago, and from there jump back to a root cause and find out, where did this come from? Because that's the main thing. That's the inner work is all about finding where the original thing came from. And one thing too with the inner child healing exercise that I offer people is that you don't have to go back and feel all that stuff. You don't have to go back and relive it. You don't have to go back and visualize any of that. You just go back, just asking simply to find where the fear came from, and mainly the limiting belief. Because when you look at it, most of our problems come from our traumas came from early childhood. And let's say there was sexual abuse. When you were 3 years old, you did not know how to verbalize sexual abuse. You didn't know what that was. And a lot of times you're told it's bad, it's a secret, don't tell anybody, but it felt good. So you got all that guilt going with it. Or maybe you went to your mom to tell your mom that your dad was doing this, and the mom said, oh, no, that can't be. It can be, and it's still happening. So nobody's there, nobody's protecting you. So unable to cope, we come up with all these different beliefs. Men are bad, sex is dirty. And all of a sudden we become 13, 14, 15, 16. We start getting into sexual, boys coming on to us, or girls, whatever. It goes both ways. And now you don't know what to do with all that sex stuff, because it's bringing up all the stuff from way back when. And you don't know. And you may not even remember that you were sexually abused when you were 3 years old. But all that stuff is still there. It's still in there. And all of those beliefs are still in there. And you need to find those beliefs. That's the main thing, is find the beliefs, find your fears, face your fears, and then let go of those beliefs. When you can look at a belief you made as a 3-year-old, an immature belief. In one of my books, what I talk about is sometimes, let's say, as an example, I used a young child who was sexually abused. And every time that she or he this would happen, they just left the scene. So in their mind, they would just pretend that they were in a circus. They just left. They just disassociated. They went to the circus, and that was their safe place while all the nasty stuff was happening. Now they're 12 years old and they go to the circus, and all of a sudden they don't know why they have all this crazy feelings, and they're upset and they want to cry, and they don't even know, because they made the circus their safe place. So we do that a lot. We'll disassociate, or we will come up with these beliefs and such. And so then we find out that if we don't deal with these limiting beliefs, they just keep festering. And like I was saying earlier, that energy just keeps building and building and building. And now you have within yourself what feels like its own demon. And you don't even know why you feel the way that you feel. And you don't know why you're reacting a lot of times. That's those triggers. Anything that triggers you, that you have an emotional trigger to, take time as soon as you can to go in and find out where the root cause is and clear all that out.
Yeah, totally agree. There are other things that happen too that I like to share, is that maybe at for example, maybe at 5 years old, you watched your mother cry because okay, you're 5 years old, so you watch your mother cry because you heard her because she's crying and realizing, and you heard her say that life didn't turn out the way she thought it did at that time, and you were 5 years old, you saw your mother cry. So what would a 5-year-old do? It doesn't know how to help. So what you do is you will take on some of that energy and carry that energy with you into your adulthood until you decide that when you learn that it's not yours, and then you learn how to remove it. But we do that as well. Sometimes as children, we want to help our parents because of whatever's going on, and we don't have the tools or understanding, so we take on some of that energy. It could be guilt. Maybe your mother's being abused by your father and you don't know how to help her, so you decide the only way to help her is if you take on that terrible feeling and make it your own. And then what happens is you forget that that's what you did, and then you carry on your life as if it is yours, and then you create the energies that, so it's like you're alchemizing it, and you're manifesting the energies because you think it's yours. Until you talk to somebody and somebody says to you, no, it wasn't yours. You just didn't know how to help your mum at the time. At being 5 years old, you didn't know how. Didn't have the tools to help her. So you decided the way to help her was to take on some of that energy because you wanted her to feel better, right? We do this as well. Doesn't matter how old you are, right? This is part of the shadow work as well, right? Like I've said before, I'm able to go past the human life to go into much ancient, or your ancient selves, to find out where the original, maybe there was an original cause that happened before you became a human, right? So that's where I go. I go there as well. That's very interesting, because what you're doing is, and I think Teresa would agree with me, what you're doing is every time you unravel yourself and help yourself remove a shadow, or what I call like a layer of energy that doesn't serve you anymore, you're actually helping all those around you see that your process is working for you, because you become lighter, you become brighter, you become more focused in your decision making. They start seeing you manifesting beautiful things in your life, because every time you remove a shadow, you're bringing more light into your space. And so I'm very big about teaching somebody how to do it on a personal level, so they can just be an example of how your process works. And somebody will just come up to you and say, wow, you look great today. What are you doing? You're looking great. You're looking happy. Everything's going well for you. What are you doing? Can you share it with me? And you have a cup of coffee, you share, and then that will inspire you to go and search out and get the people that resonate with you to help you. That's the idea, isn't it? Right? Mm-hmm. That's the idea. We're all helping each other.
I want to make a commercial announcement here. Maybe I'll go back and scroll through my messages. I would like you ladies, I need to learn how to do it, and up at the top and put you ladies links. I'd like you ladies down in the comments and Metaphysical Chicken to link your pages, if you could.
Yeah, I did. I have done that.
Have you done that? Have you done it, Teresa?
I put it in the private chat. I don't know how to link it.
That's not going to do it. What you need to do is go to...
I know, she's put it there. No, she's put it there.
Oh, okay. Perfect. I didn't know you could do that.
I didn't
either.
Yeah,
she did. She has done it.
Oh, look at all the comments. I just found them.
Yeah, you click comments.
I just found them. Okay. Tom, over on Metaphysical Chicken, I can only see about 5 comments at a time. Is there a way to...
What you need to do is click on your pictures, and you'll bring it up, and it'll fill up your whole screen, and the comments will be on the right side, and you can scroll up the comments.
Oh, and that's where the echo comes in. Okay.
Yeah, you've got to make sure. Yeah, that's what I've been hearing. You got to make sure you turn,
all right, now
turn the speaker off. Turn the speaker off down the far right-hand corner. Turn the speaker off.
I did. It's on mute. Can you hear it anymore?
Nope, we're good.
Okay. All right, there they are. They're not as big as I want. And I just found all the comments on whatever we are, the chicken one. Bark, bark. Why does it say metaphysical chicken? And we got it. Oh, it's sharing the light as a duck. Okay. I do know the difference between chickens and ducks.
Yeah.
That what we had. I'm going to try to get from Tracy. Yeah,
We're getting
Peter.
some interaction here, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, Peter's a great healer. So most of us have.
Someone's got their echo on.
I don't know where it's coming from. It's not coming.
Might be
from-
Teresa.
It might be when I went over to whatever I just did.
Yeah, you need to go down the right-hand side and click the speaker. It's on.
I did that right away. So
You may have to wear your earphones.
yeah, I think I have to wear them if I want these. It's cutting off the comments too. I only read parts of it. So I'm gonna play on that.
You can scroll
Oh, I
up,
know what I know what I can do. Let me try this. Oh, whoa, we got big now.
but yeah, most of us go through some form of abuse. Like back in Teresa in my day, in fact, I'm older than Teresa, by the way, by quite a bit. But
Only 5
we-
years.
we had she says I'm too old for her.
Yeah, there's
But I'm
someone,
out of her age range. But
there's someone
we had a lot of
echoing, Tom.
I don't know. It shouldn't be me. I've got it turned off.
That's better. What happened then? Someone do something different?
No, I just quit talking. So it must be me. So I'm going to go out and come back in.
It didn't start until I got these comments up. Is it happening still?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I found another button, so I did that one too. Okay. How is it now?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay.
But most of us go through trauma. And I spent the rest of my life running from it through addiction and everything. You know what I mean? And there was a lot of physical abuse back in my day. And, our parents, it's not like today. My God, if they talk to them hard, they take their kids away. Back in my day, buckle into the belt, And, our parents I realized today my parents had brother. My mother particularly was bad. And I mean, I was just a little shit, 3, 4, 5 years old. And she beat me till I thought I was going to die, And you experience that fear, and that becomes internalized in you. It did in me anyway. And for a guy, we spend the rest of our lives hiding from that fear, or I did. Then I know I'm not alone. And that's where a lot of addiction and alcoholism comes in, is because a lot of us are empaths and are sensitive that become light workers, and we're trying to hide from that dark the rest of our lives, or I was for a very long time.
Well, yes. What can I share? I want you to share with you. Once you learn how to acknowledge and love your darkness, then you become the mastery of your light.
Mhm.
Because what you're doing is you're facing yourself. You're looking at yourself at deeper levels. You're deciding that is not how you want to be, and you remove it, which means then you bring in more light into your space, which light is information, light is guidance, light is education, right? And what does the light do? Have you noticed that every time you solve a problem, you have a bit of a rest, and then suddenly something else comes along, because that light that you brought in before a couple of days ago has now spotlighted something else that needs to be looked at. So it's an ongoing process. But let me tell you, my friends, it does get easier, because the more tools you create, the bigger your box becomes, and you become much more ease and grace with your how you deal with it. Did that make sense?
Mhm.
So now I'm in the light now, because I have faced my darkness. So now if I need to solve something about myself that will help me take the next step, I'm not afraid to jump down those rabbit holes anymore, because I know I have a good team around me who protect me. I have Archangel Gabriel and Zorian. They both walk with me everywhere, and they help me to resolve whatever I have to do to take the next step. So the next step for me right now is feeling totally worthy of the abundance that's ahead of me that I don't know about yet. Right? And that's the stuff that that's why you're doing these things, because there's abundance. There's so much abundance in front of you. Your shadow is just keeping you from seeing it or wanting it. So if you can, so the idea is to calm that part of you down or release what doesn't work for you, then you can receive more of the abundance that's in front of you. And that's what I'm doing now. And I am ready to receive my full abundance now, because I'm not afraid of who I am, right? This world that we're in has convinced us that we're not worthy of the abundance that's in front of us, that we know nothing about, because there's a dark force, the toxic shadow, as I call it, the darkness, the dark forces, the cabal, whatever you want to call them, that are trying to limit you and restrict you from going deep inside within you to find out who you really are. Because once you do, then you become the master of your own life, your own light, and nothing can hang on to it or put hooks into it, because the cabal have hooks. They have hooks that their energies are like hooks, and they hook themselves onto you. The idea is to create a Teflon energetic system around you where they can't do that anymore.
And it's not always the cabal or dark entities either. I had an experience maybe about a year ago, because I have all these issues surrounding romantic relationships, and I knew some of it's still in there, and I've done a lot of work of this through the years. And so as I was trying to get clearer and clearer, I said, okay, show me what's next. There's something there. It's big, I know, and I need to find it and get it. And all of a sudden I felt like I was totally enclosed with this dark energy. I thought an entity was coming into me or taking me, and it was very restrictive. And so I started going to fear, and I'm like, no, that's one thing I can't do. I can't go into fear, because then that causes problems. That's how they can hook you. And so I just did a quick, hey guys, what's happening? And calmed myself down right away. And they said just relax and just listen. And then what it was all those fears that I had created for who knows how long. This goes way back before this lifetime, because it never really made sense for this lifetime. I'm usually the one that causes the problems. I'm the heartbreaker, because I don't put up with shit. So a lot of it just really didn't make sense to me. So it goes way back to who knows when. And but it became so strong in my energy field that it actually, as it was releasing, it felt like it was a live entity, and it was screaming. It was screaming, no, she created me. No, I'm here. She needs me. I'm here to protect her. She created, and I kept saying that. She created me. I have to be here. I have to be, and I'm like, well, this is interesting. And I'm watching this, and then I just started saying no, and I started talking to it and saying no, and then I started to feel sorry for it. It started to lift, like from my feet up. It's starting to lift up, and it got up to about my knees, and I'm starting to feel sorry for this. And I'm saying, oh, well, and I'm asking my guides, am I going to kill it? I don't want to kill anything. I do kill mosquitoes, okay? But I didn't want to kill this entity, whatever it was. And they're like, no, it won't die. It's just energy. And I know energy doesn't die. It just can be transmuted. So I said, okay, well, let's start to transmute it. Let's get this off of me. And then it just started lifting and lifting. Then it screamed the whole way out, just like it was a live demon or something. And
well, it is, isn't it? It is, because that's what you've created.
It was a self-created one, and we all
Yeah.
have one. We all have these layers and all this stuff. So it's not, and it
Yeah.
can feel like a demon. It really felt like it, but
Well,
it had one purpose. It had the purpose of protecting me against being hurt, my heart being hurt with romantic relationships. But it couldn't do anything else because it wasn't programmed or anything, and it wasn't really conscious. It couldn't be talking and making decisions like you and I make. It was just this heavy energy, and boy, I felt like I lost 50 pounds off of that one. It's like, oh, thanks.
yeah. Well, I did another. I went down another rabbit hole last couple of weeks, and I discovered that I had put something in front of my grandest light to protect me, to protect my light from whatever was going on at the time, and so it looked like a demon, right? But it's not really. It's just energy there, and it just simply said to me, "I've just been waiting for you to release me."
Mm.
So I said, well, you're no longer required now. And it just went, it just disappeared. It just decided, off it went. It said, thank you. I thanked it for doing its job that I asked it to do in the first place. And then I said, I no longer require you anymore. Thank you so much. Blessings. And it just then disappeared.
Mhm.
And I was able to retrieve the little treasure that I was looking for, about myself.
Can I break in?
So we do that as well, right?
Peter mentioned up there, I feel strongly that Katarina has evolved in a higher level in the last 6 months. She was just speaking about that a while back. And also
Yeah.
she said he felt
agree.
Egypt and Greece in your aura, or his guides was showing him that Egypt and Greece. And I'm kind of funny because your family is from Greece. You're Greek. And your father lived in Egypt.
Yeah, but Peter is right. Thank you for acknowledging that, Peter. But that's right. I've been, oh my gosh, I've been working at me since the age of 14, really, when I woke up at 14. But it's been the last 20 years that I've really become conscious of what I'm doing. And yes, so my process quickens every time I do more work. So I do work all the time. And that's why I like being self-employed and having my business, because if I need to stop for a couple of hours to do some work on myself, I have that freedom to do it. Where I used to work in the corporate job, my guides used to have me drink water all the time. So every hour I would go and sit in the toilet for 5 minutes so I can have a little chat with them, So I don't have to do that now. I do it. But my purpose is for me to become the best version that I can be, so I can help another person understand that they can do what I can do.
When I was
sorry, John.
I was say, when I was writing my first book, it's a self-empowerment book, and I was channeling it, and I'd go in to channel each morning, and I'd get something, and the guy who I was renting a room from, he'd say, what'd you write about today? I said, I don't know, because it was channeled. But then sometimes I would go in, and it'd be like, no, not today. And I'm like, yeah, we're finally starting to get ahead. I'm here ready, not today. And usually it happened in about 3 days. Something would happen. And then when I would come back the next day, I would have some experience of something. And then he said, well, we needed you to experience it first, and I learned that I'm learning just as much as everybody else. And with each one of my clients, I learn different things. And sometimes when I'm working with them, something will trigger in me that I have to go in and have to do my own inner work too. So that's just really important for light workers to know. We still have to do that inner work too. And if we're not doing that inner work, then that's when our ego gets in our way, and you can get into a whole mess.
Yeah, well, I promote quiet time. So, I sit quietly with Archangel Gabriel, and I journal everything. I write everything down. I have so much information, but I do that as well, Teresa. I sit quietly. I sit with my team and we have a little chat. And then, sometimes what happens is, Gabriel might come in, we have a little chat, and then he'll say to me, for example, why do you underestimate yourself? Look at that, and I'll come back. And then that's another rabbit hole, right? So off I go. I'm having life experiences about why I underestimate myself, just to show me, what that's all about. And this is what I help my clients do. I help them to understand how to have their quiet time so they can tune into their energies or their higher selves, because your higher self is you. So you're basically talking to you. Your guidance, anything outside of that, can be, from angels to galactics to someone who passed over. Yes, you can have those things. But I teach people how to connect to their higher self that has all the solutions, that has all the ideas that you need in this life to embody to help you with your everyday life, because your everyday life is going to be what is going to shift the planet, right?
Yeah, and
That's
Carolyn Thomas says she wrote it twice. Where to go? Just took off. She wouldn't know how we take her to that space of healing, I'm assuming she's talking about. And for my work, because I don't do live work, I have tools and suggestions that I give you. We'll clear the energies and stuff so you can have more clarity. And we definitely say meditation, 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 because that's where you're going to find it. And the inner child healing is just one of the tools you can use. And I offer several tools when I do my reading. And then what Katerina, you can talk more about it, but she just said too, she's talking about you got to get into that quiet space and how she could take you to your higher self. So Katerina, you want to talk more about how you do that, or whatever would answer the question?
Yeah, well, how do I do that? When I was taught how to do that, I was taught how to do automatic writing first, because I had to learn to trust what was coming through my own intuition. So what I did was I learned how to do the automatics. So I had a guidance that so what I did, I allowed myself to move halfway out of my body and allowed the other energy to come in and use my hand and write. Right. So I used to sit here and I just basically was told to sit quiet, don't say anything. What does the energy feel like? How does it make you feel? What's going on with your perception? So I would say something like, oh, wow, the room's getting really bright. And my guidance will say, okay, keep going. What else does that mean? Oh, it sounds like the ocean, or it sounds, like I would just use what I was feeling emotionally at the time, because connecting with your higher self, I believe, is through your emotional self, through your heart. So there were plenty of times where I would just have to sit with the energy and not say anything. Just feel into it. How did it make me feel? If I felt like crying, I cried. If I felt like laughing, I laughed. Do you know what I mean? Like, I had to learn what the signature of the energy was. So that's how I learned. And then as we moved forward, safety was a big thing for me. And safety is a big thing because of my history in this life, and also the galactic wars and that, because that stays with you as well. So I had to deal with my issues at the same time. So I would imagine that I created a circle of energy around me, and I was trained not to allow the energy to come into my circle until I knew how it felt for me. And I felt safe enough for it to come into my space. That's how I learned. And so Navro taught me how to create a name. So I create names, I create keywords, because I'm the house, right? It's all about me being my house. So so if there was an energy that wanted to speak to me, they had to have like a keyword to come into my house.
Mhm.
So Navro became like my gatekeeper. So we got to know each other. We talked about everything from the sky being blue, from me having a bad day. You know, like I talked to him like if he was, because he was real energetically. He was very real, another being, right? I just didn't see him. I had to learn how to trust my intuition to know that he was there. So he taught me how to create names, how to sit with the energy, how to notice the most subtleness of the energy, how it shifted, how the light shifted. You know, did that make sense? Like that. This is how I was taught. So I was taught about what the higher self means, and the higher self is just simply you that was just disconnected from you. And it's also part of you that has already had a successful outcome, or a successful timeline, or a successful life, however you want to call it. And you've created all the tools, you created your solutions, you learnt from all those lessons. And so you're now asking and embodying that information into your physicalness now, so you can help yourself.
Mhm.
That's a high self. Then there's the shadow, right? So I've made friends with my shadow, and I allow my shadow to come through mirror work, and it talks to me if I'm not getting out of my own way, because I know at a higher level that there's something beautiful coming my way. So I've got to teach my human self to feel worthy of that, even before I knew what that was. Did that make sense?
Yes, you make perfect
Because Teresa, I'm learning how to write all this down on paper, do you know what I mean? And how to share it with people, because I was in self-isolation for 13, 14 years.
When I was
So
around 13
my business
years
is,
old, go ahead.
sorry, Don.
I was saying, when I was around 13 years old, I came in very strong that face all your fears. And I was like, I didn't know I had any fears, really. I was in so much denial. I was just angry and stuff. But I learned through the years that whenever something come up, it was strong in me. Face that fear, don't let that dwell. And then after I started doing my work, I was really afraid to do my work because I had a lot of past life memories that were coming up. And I also knew several people that decided that they were going to do entity work, and they didn't know what they were doing. Those demons jumped on them, and they went nuts. And I was really afraid that was going to happen to me. And I didn't know what my work was, but I knew it had something to do with those. And it really scared me. And after I was doing the work for several years, then it hit me one day. I remembered how I was always told, face your fears, because I knew that if I went into fear, then that makes me vulnerable to the entities. That makes me vulnerable, because what happens as soon as you go into a fear, you're like, oh, everybody's doing this to me, whether it's the AI or whether it's the government or your voodoo neighbor, they're doing all this stuff to you. That takes away your power. And when that fear creates more fear, you can go into panic, and then that makes you more and more vulnerable. So we need to all recognize that we have full sovereign rights, and no entity can get into you, or their energy can get into you, unless you created the doorway. It's like you were saying, you had that little key. They had to have that special code to get in. Our energy field gets weakened, and like attracts like. That law of attraction is in effect. So if you're having a fear of this or that, and you get around people, or you start going, how many times has anybody gone on social media or gone on to the news and started watching something over and over, and you start believing that, taking that fear on, you get more and more. And the next thing you know, something that's happening in a foreign country is it's got you just so out of whack. You're just totally panicked. You don't know what to do. Because you allowed it to get out of
as a veteran right now, particularly, it's like Saigon 75. I was in the Army from 70 to 79, and I was stationed over in Asia when that went down, and that's going down now. And I had to just get away from the news and not watch or do anything when you get it's something I have to leave alone. I can't affect anything there,
A lot of that doesn't have to be our reality where we are right now. If you look at people like the Dalai Lama and stuff, they've had a lot of horrible things happen, but they're not panicked, they're not weakened, they're not anywhere. They're going inside every day and they're saying, okay, what can I do? What I tell a lot of my clients too, they want to be activists, so they want to spread the word, so they're spreading all this negativity. But for me, if you're going to spread the negativity, number one, please do your research and know that what you are sharing is actually the truth, because most of it is not. And then the second thing is to make sure that if you're going to send something negative, send something positive. Send a possible solution, a call to action. Otherwise, it's not yours. Don't mess with it and just let it go. Otherwise, you're going to just bombard yourself. You're going to get overwhelmed, and we don't need to be there.
Mhm.
And it's really hard now because of the internet. We have access to things going on in the country, every country around there. And normally, in the olden days, and even not that long ago, I wouldn't know what was going on in Australia. I wouldn't know what was going on down in the rainforest because we didn't have that access. Now we do, and all these storms all over the world, we get all upset about because what's happening in Haiti or Jamaica or wherever, and you're just like overwhelmed because it's too much. So focus on yourself first, get yourself calm, and prayer. Prayer is the power of prayer, and especially when you get in with groups, is just astronomical. We have no idea. There's been a lot of studies done on this. How crime rates. We used to do this when I lived in Sedona. We would get together as a group. We would say these prayers, and then we'd watch the crime rate for the next week. And using Phoenix, Sedona's not much crime, but we were watching the Phoenix and stuff would drop. We would watch storms that would dissipate, things like that. So that power of prayer, and especially in groups, when that intention is clear, that's the best work that you can do right there. Join some prayer groups that are focused and are working on inner peace, working on peace in the world and things like that. So we can do a lot of work, and it's free. It's right there in your chair, in your jammies, any time of day or night.
One thing I was going to say is the best thing we could do is just clean ourselves out and channel light to help raise it, because we're all tuning forks and we help raise the consciousness. And that was my purpose for doing this show, to connect more of us to people like Teresa and Katerina and Karen and a lot of the other guests we're going to have on here. They've got Peter the Healer, Carolyn Thomas, all these people. I'm hoping that you're not going to gravitate to everybody or Staffy. You're not going to gravitate to everyone. You're not going to resonate with them. But I can almost guarantee you that one of these people is going to resonate with you, and they'll be able to give you the answers you're looking for.
Yeah, we're all like acupuncture needles. So we're just like acupuncture needles in the earth, wherever we are right at that moment. And you're either going to inject poison, or you're going to inject love and inner peace. And we all have that ability to really do some major work, even without connecting with anybody else. A lot of people, light workers, feel like, I don't know anybody else, there's nobody in my area. Well, then do what you can do with yourself right now, and then connect with others online. And once we clean our own energy out, then we can do a world of good.
Well, that's exactly right, Teresa. And that's what my work is about. People come to me and I teach them how to clean their energy. And how do you clean your energy? By facing yourself in all levels and understanding that you got to understand that you've had many lifetimes. So you weren't always good and you weren't always bad. That's human words, right? Good and bad, positive and negative. You did what you had to do at the time. So you need to let go of the guilt, or need to let go of the idea that you did something wrong. That's just a toxic human thing about, oh, no, you did it wrong. No, don't do that. Because remember how we grew up as children, we kept getting told, no, that's not right. Or no, that's not right. All that type of stuff. But I always say, if you look within yourself and heal yourself, then your energy expands out, like I always say, like 10 kilometers each time. So all the people around you who are meditating, who are sitting quietly, suddenly feel into the energies of solutions and focus. Well, you're helping them and they don't even know it's you. It's the energy that you're putting out there. That's how it works, right? So I help my clients understand that their inner work or their work on themselves is as important as you would get 10 people together.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you unravel yourself, when you let go of things that don't work for yourself, what you're doing is you're expanding your light by another 5 kilometers. That's how it was shown to me. So every time you gained another 5 kilometers, that means you've opened yourself up to another 5 kilometers of your universe, of your ideas, of new solutions or new tools or new guidance and all that type of stuff. Like, I'm here to tell you, my friends, you can do exactly what I can do.
Mm-hmm.
You are capable of doing what I do. I talk to Archangel Gabriel every day, whether it's on piece of paper or telepathically. Now, I've done a lot of work to do that. I've cleaned a lot of my energy because, angelics or even high dimensional beings, the angelics and the galactics, what happens is they need to adjust their energies to be able to come near you, to be able to speak to you or communicate with you. So it's not just the human body that needs to adjust, but it's also their energies that are adjusting themselves to us, right? Because have you ever noticed you're talking to somebody and suddenly you're falling asleep? It's because the vibration is a little bit lower than yours. I'm not saying you're better or less than them. I'm just saying the energy is a different frequency to yours. And sometimes it just gets a little bit too much and you want to go to sleep,
Mm-hmm.
right? This applies with the angelics and the high dimensional galactics. So they have to adjust their energies to be able to come near your space. So, for example, before Gabriel could come into my space, I spent 20 years cleaning up my space for him to be able to come near me. Do you understand? To come, for his energy to come to me, to communicate with me, because I had to get rid of a lot of density in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm just learning now how to communicate to you so you can understand what I'm saying, understand where I'm coming from, right? What I do, because I'm teaching myself how to communicate it.
Can I say something here about something that was talked about earlier? Yeah. Excuse me. Um, those of us that have gone into alcoholism and addiction, we blow our auras up. We blow up that shield, and that creates more fear or more bad energy or more anger or more lust or whatever energy we're creating. We're picking it up off of people. We're sending it out. And then we use more and more to try to not feel that. That was what happened with me. And I was very aware because I was an empath. I was picking up all this bad stuff, and the only way I could possibly survive for me was to stay in an altered state. And so after you go through all those years, and it's been 24 years since I've done something like that, you have to, that's what the 12-step program is, the shadow work. And if you're recovering from an addiction, that's nothing but a program of shadow work, really. But I'm just telling you that you're going to continue to have problems until you heal what's down in there. And you don't need to use the 12 steps. The processes they do work. But you don't need to live the rest of your life in bondage. And that was I went through that so that I'd be able to do this. We choose these paths, we choose these timelines, we choose these families, we choose these experiences before we come in, most of it. Although we can get off on what Katarina calls those karmic loops, and I'm trying to get out of them and trying not to repeat it. And it's pretty difficult because once you get ingrained in those patterns and thinking patterns, it's very, very hard to stop. I wanted to talk here from the layman's perspective.
And you have to get to that root cause of what led you to go drinking. And, usually most people, when they get these addictions, it's because they're trying to numb those emotional traumas from their youth. And so you still have to heal that. And then another place where I see where people really get stuck with the addictions is even when they're trying to get out of it, they get into guilt and the blaming and them shaming themselves and not taking responsibility for their own actions now, compared to, okay, maybe this bad stuff happened. You were 3 and 4 and 5 and you were helpless. Well, you're not helpless anymore. Now you're an adult, and now you can go back and you can look at that, change those limiting beliefs and those fears that you took on, that you created, and just let that stuff go without the guilt, the shame, the blame, and all of that, because otherwise that keeps you stuck in that loop.
Yes. But you know what? At the end of the day, you do the best you can. You believe in yourself. You learn how to feel worthy of who you are at that given moment. And then if you truly want to understand, you just have to say, yes, I'm ready. And your universe, your connections will bring you the people, the information, and all that you need to help yourself. When you say, yes, I am ready to help myself, all the help will come to you. You just need to learn how to have that discernment as to who do you want to help you, right? But all you got to say is, yes, I'm ready now.
And gratitude is really big too. Gratitude's really big. So when you do come to realize what an asshole you've been, or what all these things that you've done or other people have done, if you can have gratitude for that person for showing you, because one thing that person that was an asshole to you showed you was that, okay, I don't want to be like that. I'm not going to act that way. So they're helping us to be a better person, choosing to be a better person, because we can go into the anger or whatever. And also, like you were talking about with the addicts and stuff, once you get past that and say, I don't want to be that anymore, then instead of going into blaming yourself and the guilt and all of that, add as much gratitude as you can. Okay, I'm waking up now. I am really thankful for this. And no matter what, like maybe cigarettes is your thing. I am so glad I didn't smoke this last cigarette. I broke that with, anything that you can get gratitude for. And you made a comment, Katharina, a minute ago, you're saying at the end of the day, but truly at the end of the real day, at the end of the day, get into the habit of doing a daily review of your behaviors that day. What set you off? What were the triggers? And use those triggers to go back and try to find out what the root cause of all of those were. And then also, make a plan. How do I want to respond the next time it happens? Because if you've got something that's unresolved, it's going to keep happening. You're going to keep having experiences until you actually resolve that and you get rid of that trigger. You got to cut that cord off of that trigger. I tell people it's like a doorbell. You got to cut that cord if you don't want that bell to ring anymore. So once you cut the cord, then that energy dissipates. It's out of there. In the end, it's gone. And again, putting gratitude in with any of that for being shown without the blame and the guilt. Because we tend to, when something happens, it happens bad that day even, then you're like, oh, well, he was a creep, and that's all, and I'm justified. That gets us into more trouble than anything. I'm justified. Or you wanted to get the revenge, or I need to save him, or, he just doesn't know, Usually the problem is your own self. Work on your own self and how you can behave and handle the situation better the next time. And one thing I offer to my clients too and suggest is that do role playing in your mind, using all your senses, using your sight, actually try to visualize yourself as much as you can, how you're going to react the next time this happens. It's a good example is our family, because we're around them all the time. And if you haven't already, let's say your mother's the problem and you haven't resolved the problem with her, well, you come up with some new perspectives, new rules, new parameters, and better behavior on your part. She may never change, but you can change, and you can change your reactions to her. So there's a lot of different tools that you can use and things, but make it as real as you can when you're doing your visualization. And I have another tool that I send people called the heart connections. Make that heart to heart. Send love. No matter how mad you are to her, if you're going to be talking to her again in a few minutes or tomorrow on the phone, do a heart connection with her first, because that helps to start softening you, and then it'll help to start softening the person that you're having the problem with. And then maybe it's your boss too. That's another one. You can't get away from your boss. You got to go to work the next day. It's about how are you going to react differently that day, and what habits have you taken on as a result with all that anger that you've had because he's been doing this to me for 3 months. You got to let that go and say, okay, I'm still going to be pleasant. I'm still going to be me. I'm going to have a good day. They can all be assholes. That's fine. I'm going to smile. you know. And one trick I learned from one guy that when I use it, it's very powerful. And whenever somebody's got this opinion, like, did you get your vaccination? Or, you know, and then we went to the Trump era here in the US, you know, is when they say something, they try to put their belief or try to pressure you for anything. You just say, I'll think about that. And whether you think about it or not, doesn't matter. Just say, I'll think about that. And then that's it. Don't respond to anything else. I'll think about that. They can't fight that. There's nothing. The war ends right there. There's no more gas being thrown onto the fire. So practice using something like that. Get your statement and just say, hey, and it'll end it right there.
Yeah. What do I do? I've learned to say, thank you so much. You've showed me something that I need to change. Have a blessed day.
Yeah.
And they don't know what to say.
You don't.
No, they don't. Yeah. What the other things that I do too is every day I wake up and I write 3 things that I'm grateful for. I write about what can I offer humanity, or the human container as I call it. What is it that I can help with? And that can be just simply being the best person that you can be at that day, on that day. That's how you can offer. And then what is it that I want? Now, Gabriel and I talk about this every morning in our little quiet moments. And when I say, oh, you know, I'd like to help a lot of people, he goes, no, what does Katerina want? Because that's okay too, right? That's okay to say, I would like a new hairdo, or I would like to go out to the movies, or I would like to have a massage today, because you were grateful about your day or what you received. You offered humanity something that can help them grow. So why not have the exchange in having self-care day, or go get a massage, or go and have a cup of coffee with a friend, or even sitting out near the beach for the day and not working? You know, you're allowed to have those days as well. So it took me a long time to learn how to give myself something in return of what I do. So opening my heart to receive was a big journey for me as well. For a lot of us, you know. But now I love my self-care days where I can stay in my pajamas till midday and write in my journal and speak to my guidance, and then have a shower and, I don't know, go shopping or go and have a cup of coffee. Gabriel and I do a lot of coffees at cafes and that, because he likes to sit in the middle of the humans, as he calls them, and he likes to watch what you all do. I allow him in my space, in my higher heart, and he can see through my eyes. Right. And then he's taught me how to allow him to speak through my higher throat here, like through here. And I'm having a cup of coffee, you know, somebody wants to come and sit with me, and we have a great old conversation, and they didn't even know they were speaking to Gabriel for an hour, right? Yeah, so I do things like that too, you know. Somebody said to me the other day, you know, how can I help? How can I help somebody that's upset? And I say, you just simply sit there and let them be upset. Let them express themselves. Let them cry. Let the body grieve whatever it is that they're feeling about, or let them speak for 10 minutes about how they felt about something. That's how you can help.
Yeah, and I'm looking at what Peter wrote too. Peter wrote, I wake up in my office healing away, but addicted to help others. Just make sure, Peter, that you do take care of yourself. And like Katerina was saying, you take either a day, or sometimes I used to feel guilty taking a nap. I love naps, and I wake up more energized. But I felt guilty because, you know, my mom made me feel guilty about that. Reading a book in the middle of the day. No, you don't do that stuff, you know. So just Peter and everybody, you know, just make sure that that you're balanced in your helping service to others, because you can get off balance by getting too much. Most of my clients that I get are healers, and they've been doing it for so long, and they got addicted to the work, and they took on a lot of the energies of the other people, and they got themselves so clogged up because they weren't regenerating and they weren't taking time, whether it's a day or whether it's an hour or two, whatnot. If you follow your intuition, you'll know when you need to take a break too. So the healing work is important and being in service, but it has to be balanced. And I was a workaholic, and they finally, my guides too, were saying no. And I was like, this is too much work. It's too much. I don't have enough time for me. And they're like, well, we never told you how to do too much. Ask us about shortcuts. So they would show me a shortcut. That's why I do all my work online. I don't need everybody's stories, because the stories are similar. Okay, I got hurt. I didn't handle it well. I got these beliefs. I got an addiction or whatever. It doesn't matter what the actual story is. I don't need to hear all that, because it's all still the same energy. You're stuck, so let's get you unstuck. So I don't need to, what most people would do in a 1 to 3 hour phone conversation, I can do 25 people in the same amount of time just on my typewriter. So, whatever works for anybody, because I'm just personally not a one-on-one type of person a lot of times, where others are more social than what I am too. So everybody works different, but I still had to learn the same as everybody else to make that balance between your service work and your personal work.
There are reasons why she doesn't do one-on-one.
Yeah, because I get people like Tom. Oh my God.
Yeah, where I like the one-on-ones, right? I like to be sitting in front of them. I like to be sitting with them or on Zoom or something, and we have a good old chat. But I don't go more than 1 to 3 hours is my span. But I don't work like an hourly rate thing anymore. I don't do that anymore. What I do is the person sits with me, and then I bring in all my team. Their guidance comes into my house, and we work together as long as it needs, but it doesn't go more than 3 hours, right? No.
Yeah. Also,
it may go for an hour, it may go for 2 hours.
And I found out with my work, my team works on their own time schedule. We learned in the beginning.
That's right.
There was one lady that we did something for, and she wanted to have a soul cleanse. And when you have a soul cleanse, for cleaning out, you're going to have emotional download. That's coming. And then you're going to have some physical detox, some of that stuff, so the healing can begin. And in one of our first ones, this lady had a business meeting. She got diarrhea, right? And, and we learned, we'll want to watch. So I might be typing away at 11 a.m. and saying, doing this and doing that with the work, but they may not get the work or feel the effects or anything until they go to bed that night or such. So they work on their own timelines too. They're watching, because we're tuning in to their needs. Hello, Joan. I haven't met you.
Hi. How are you?
Oh, are you the sister of Sharon Angela?
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Tom. How are you doing?
You're on mute, Tom.
Probably just as well. Tell a little bit about yourself, because a lot of people, you were on weeks and weeks and weeks ago. Tell a little bit about yourself. This is Karen's Oracle, I call her.
So I'm, as you already know, my name is Joan, and I'm a hospice nurse, also a caregiver, as well as right now we're focusing mainly on being health coaching. So I'm trying to coach caregivers and focusing on burnout and self-care, because without self-care you cannot pour from an empty cup. So you have to be filled before you can give. And being of service.
Yeah.
And I really consider health coaching more broadly now, because then I can serve much more on a broader scale.
I love your Navajo necklace.
Oh, thank you.
That's gorgeous.
She lived Teresa lived on the reservation there for a while.
The Navajo.
She lived all the great places in the United States.
Wow.
She lived in Sedona on the reservation years ago.
I've been sent to many power spots to help clear up the mess. One thing we found with a lot of the power spots, people will go to these sacred sites like Sedona, but they also dump all their stuff there. So a lot of my work has been clearing the energies of the land and such too, not just the people.
What a privilege.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. I would be doing work sometimes and be called to go somewhere, and I didn't know why.
Uh-oh.
In the beginning, I didn't know what I was doing. Oh no, we got them both now. Is this Karen with a new name, or is this a new person?
No, that's what she calls herself. I call them the Soul Sisters. They're amazing. Like the story where she got hit, she was a nurse. Hey, Karen, you guys get to meet, man. This is like having the triad here of ancient souls.
Well, Triad's 3. We're 4.
We're 4 now.
There's 5, including you. There's 5.
It's amazing.
I'm gonna
That's the Holy Trinity.
I'm gonna mute my.
Tom's muted. All right, let's talk about him.
And the energies are really high and the computer can't cope, and there's always a little delay. So if it sounds like I'm in a little delay, that's why. And the internet can't cope with that at the moment, with all this awakening going on the planet. The computers are not coping.
Right. Everything is at a high level.
Well, Joan and Soul Pascal, why don't you guys do some talking? We've been chit-chatting here for a long time. You don't know what we've been talking about, so.
What is the topic today? What is the topic today?
The topic is self-empowerment, awakening, sharing the light. Yeah, how's that for a topic?
They were talking about
sharing the light is so beautiful to talk about, because we need so much light. There is lots of darkness, and we have to be the light to illuminate and clear those darkness away. You know, and when coming to awakening, I mean, there's so much awakening that is needed, and I think awakening now is moving on so many different levels, because a lot of people are being awakened in different ways. They're experiencing so many things in their lives that has never happened before, and I think it's putting them into a space of real true awakening.
Mm-hmm.
And they're able to understand themselves even better. So it's a lot of shifting and moving is going on at this point in time. People are moving and evolving into different spaces. You're losing people, not in debt, but in friendship, because when your awakening is happening, you're moving into a different space, and who maybe has been with you for a long period of time can no longer be there, because you're getting ready to make that shift and pivot into a different space to travel in your journey. And so individuals of no hard feelings, but it's just that your job is moving forward, and you're accomplishing your assignment, the reason why you're being here, if that makes sense.
And there's another, yesterday, for the last 3 days, I've been told that there's another major shift just about to land in consciousness. So hang on to your hats, ladies and gents.
Yes.
It's going to be it's a huge wave. But let me tell you, right, every time you unravel yourself, you become part of the new wave. So each of us, when we bring more light into it, we create.
Right.
So the reason why it has sped up, you know, it's quickly and everything, is because people are deciding to wake up and to clean themselves, to understand themselves, so that we all become the wave or the shift. So but the galactics did tell me, though, is from the sun, you know, galactically from the universe, there is some waves coming in the next couple of days. And so hang on to your hats. Be still. Look within yourself, hold on to yourselves, love yourselves so much, love yourself so much that nothing will sway you.
Right.
Because the world has to fall apart for the new wave to create something new, right? And we're
That's
and
true,
I
this
was
is true.
and we're coming into the darkness will grow because we need the darkness to make us wake up and grow, right?
Yeah, because that's the only way we can be the light. And it's funny how you express that, because that alone is enlightening, because the work that we are doing now, um, Karen and I, we wrote an ebook on self-care. And I noticed that, uh, especially since this time, we're really focusing more in depth on that and advising people and letting people know self-care. And it's nice that you said that, because maybe that is the reason why we really focusing and advising and sharing more to people, sharing the ebook with them about self-care. And so that makes a lot of sense. That, thank you for the clarity.
That you're welcome. Because I've been doing this work for a long time myself, and what I found was that my team, like for example, one of my guidance said to me, if you don't go to the beach, I'm not talking to you. So you got to decide to go to the beach, right? So I said, I don't want to go to the beach. He goes, well, I'm not going to talk to you if you don't go to the beach. So I packed up my little bag and went to the beach, sat on the sand, and we had the best conversation that day, right? It was all about self-care, right? Because you got to mentally you got to recharge yourself mentally and emotionally, because the energy work is to do with those two. It's the emotional that interprets it and the mental that speaks it, right? So we all, like Peter, my friend, you need to take time out, because you're going to be needed. You know, like your work, all of your work, all of you, even me, are going to be needed a lot coming soon, right? So self-care is really important. So if you suddenly feel like you need to sleep for 6 hours, that's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. If you
Wow.
feel that you need to go and put your feet on the ground, that's what you do.
Yes.
If
Or
you
to lay
feel,
in the
yes,
grass. Yeah.
yeah, and if you feel like you need to have a good cry for an hour, then that's what you do.
True.
The
Yeah, because I
challenge
guess
is
that that's,
not
yeah.
to feel victimized by
It
that,
is.
right?
It's, thank you for sharing that, because that is so true.
Yeah. I mean, we're human after all, right? We're so complex, we're so
Yeah.
multi-layered, and at the end
Mm-hmm.
of the day, it's the human being that's going to shift the planet into higher vibration. Nothing outside of that is going to do it.
Correct.
That's
Yeah.
why that's why we are a commodity in the universe, because we have that skill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the beauty that we can
Each
share.
one of
Yeah.
you has the ability to shift the
Yeah.
energy on the
And
planet.
that is how it's gonna move. That's right.
Yeah.
We are the
I
ones who
believe
have to
that.
move it forward. That's
Can I answer a
beautiful.
question from Peter? Both these lovely ladies come from Guyana, which is just north of Venezuela, and they've got native blood. So if you're asking about Native American, yeah, they're native, all right, but not from not from North America.
Mm-hmm.
They live in Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by Joan, as you see, that's why I call the Oracle. But Sol Pasco, if she's being quiet there, she's working behind the scenes. You can bet on that.
Oh my goodness. It's amazing when we all could come together and we could share and to help other souls to understand exactly what's happening at the moment, and don't be confused and get all wondering, oh my God, what's happening right now? Why am I feeling this way? So it's good when we could come together and we could explain to them exactly what's happening at the moment, and they could understand. Some will accept and some would not, but it's okay.
Yeah. Because you see, okay, from my point of view and from what I've been taught, my guidance always say to me, Be the best human being that you can be. This is why we're here to help you, because the human being, the humanness is the gift.
Mhm.
You have everything you need within your body, within your heart, within your mind, within your emotions, within your mental, all the bodies, right? My guidance always say to me, we are taking care of you because your brain, your organs, your nervous system is very sensitive to the new energies. And when your nervous system is not aligned, you will feel anxious, you will feel agitated, you will feel angry, you will feel that you can't get things right. That is because you're not aligned
Right.
to your energy. Everybody is different. Everybody has a piece of the universe. There is enough universe for everybody,
So true.
right?
Totally agree.
Yeah, you know, there are thousands of angels, thousands of galactics who want to help you become the best version of yourself. It doesn't matter what somebody else is doing. It doesn't matter what somebody else is saying. You know, that's taken me a long time to understand, right? And that's okay too, right? Because there's no competition here.
Right. There's no competition.
Exactly.
If
Exactly.
we all can live from that space and understand there is no competition, each one of us that came here came with our own assignment. And if we can just tap into that and utilize that gift and perform that and share it with the world, extend ourselves and serve, then we don't have to worry. Because then we are really living as, and I like that, because funny thing you said that, live the best version of yourself, because everything that we write and we share with people, when we talk to them, we tell them, we try to encourage, try to live your true essential self, the best version of yourself. Because once you can reach to the place of living the best version of yourself, then there is where the true happiness is. There is where the true joy is. If that makes
Absolutely.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask you a
And
question? Can I ask a question here for kind of for the audience? And this has been going around with different places. They're saying when the light workers all ascend, it's going to wipe out all our karma. Teresa and I we were actually talking about that the other night, and I was talking with somebody else, and that's answer that question. Not if you're not doing the work and you're not there and you're not channeling the light. You know, your karma's not going to be wiped out because you're creating new karma.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
there's a lot
that's
of,
going around.
yeah, there's a lot of the false light has created a lot of false vision, false karma, false information to keep you going round that loop, which is what I call karma. It's just a loop. Imagine an energetic loop that you go round. And what happens is, right, okay, so you imagine the loop. So you come halfway. You wake up at that halfway point. The challenge is to stay awake till you come to the end of the loop so you can remove that loop and not have to repeat it again. But
Sure.
then what happens is you wake up, you go, you know, you want to do it, or you want to create something new, but then you got somebody coming in trying to veer your way, be negative. What are you doing that for? You don't have to do that for. Why are you doing that for? And then what happens? Because you want to be like everybody else, you create amnesia, then you fall back to sleep, you come back to the end of that cycle, and then a year later, you got to do it again.
Yeah, it's like you're in a hamster wheel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when is enough enough?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
what my team
That's
always
the
say to
million
me.
dollar question.
It's
And I
interesting
think
you
that
say
is
that
what a
because that's
lot
what
of
my
us
team
struggle
always
with.
says. Enough is enough.
Yeah. That's what Gabriel says to me. Enough now, darling. I went, oh yeah, I think so. Yeah. He
Mhm.
goes, you sure? Because we can go. He goes, you're going to go around that loop again, and I have patience to wait for you, and I will walk with you. And I go, great. Well, then let's not do it again. Do you know what I mean? Then that's when I go down my rabbit holes and learn what I have to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so
This
many
journey
people,
that we're taking can be very tiring, exhausting. It can be very to the point where you have no energy left, and that's all okay too. That just means that you've got to step back, take care of yourself, because you can't help somebody if you can't help yourself. Right? That's what you're all saying, right, ladies?
you
Yeah.
know, you said it so perfectly well, and I think just by you saying that, I think it's just also giving us uh validation, or verifying that this is real. This is where we should really be focusing on right now. It's amazing. It's just sometimes
Yeah, because there's
you
so
have to be in a
yeah.
space to get the word.
Well, there's so much distraction around us, right? I did a live in my light language group yesterday or today, I think this morning, and I'm saying, shh, shh, keep quiet. It's time to be quiet. Too much distractions around you. I call the distractions around me the bad neighborhood. Right, because we all have to go through the bad neighborhood, and we have to learn how to walk through the bad neighborhood and not be triggered, not be dragged into their bling bling and their fanciness and their, oh, look what I have for you, come with me, let's have a party. Right, when we go to sleep, a lot of us go into the fourth dimension, and that's where the bad neighborhood is. Have you ever watched The Joker? Did anybody watch the movie The Joker? That's the bad neighborhood. Right? If you can walk through the bad neighborhood with your head up high and not get distracted by what's going on, you're going to master your light and move into the end of 4D and come into 5D.
Mm-hmm.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah, that is so true, because there is a lot of noise, and people get sucked into the noise. And when you get sucked into the noise, then is when a distraction comes. So you cannot be able to focus on the direction that you really want to go, because there's so much noise coming into your ear, and you become blindsided of your direction that you're supposed to be walking and going the path. So we have to learn to know what to let in and what to keep out. That is what we have to learn to do.
Mhm.
And not everything that you hear, you go after it, because some people will try to trigger you know. But you gotta know when to stay grounded and tell yourself, hey, this is not for me. I'm not gonna go in that direction. I'm gonna go in the direction which that self know where it's going.
And sometimes until last evening I was speaking to someone,
Do
and
you know,
I
I've
said,
had visions like, oh, delay. Sorry, ladies, there's a delay in the internet.
yeah. Mhm.
Sorry, Joanne, you were
No, no
talking.
problem. It's okay. And I was saying to her, you know, sometimes because a lot is happening in her life at this point in time, and I said sometimes just for a few minutes, just step aside and pause, and you know, focus on your breathing. Take a couple breaths in, take a couple breaths out, because that way you getting through all your chakras, you bringing yourself, grounding to yourself, and bringing yourself into a good space of true alignment, and just feel that, gather your thoughts together, and just, I even tell her, you know, just keep saying like all will be well. You take a couple breaths in nice and slow, you get it right down into your core, you let it out, and you're consistently saying all will be well, because you want to bring yourself down into a space that knowing that everything, whatever's going on around me is just something that is keep moving. It will not be there all the time, and it will all be well. But in order for me to really handle everything that I'm handling, which is her, I gotta just pause a couple times a day, every day, and just do that. Focus on that breathing and be in oneness with yourself, oneness with the universe, and just know that the universe has got your back. It's gonna be okay.
Yes. Yes. That's beautiful. Yes. What I would like to add too is if you don't feel aligned, if you feel angry, and if you feel triggered, that's okay too, because they're all trying to show you something that needs to be fixed.
True. Yeah.
So if you don't feel aligned, you're going to seek someone out that's going to help you create that alignment. If you feel triggered by somebody's words because they're not agreeing with you, it's because there's a part of you that agrees with them. So they're just showing you what we're all mirrors for each other.
That's so true.
Yeah, I do a lot of shadow work, ladies. So I get people to understand their shadows, and that's the shadow, right? That it's okay we're not to be aligned every day. That takes skill, that takes practice, that takes dedication, that takes work every day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. You gotta be consistent.
Yeah, because that's why when I'm with my clients, I say to them every day between this visit and the next visit, because I have long-term clients, I say to them, I want you to sit with yourself for 10 minutes every day and listen to what you have to say for you. Get the journal, write down what you're feeling. Doesn't matter how it sounds. It can be out there, doesn't matter. But sit for 10 minutes every day and feel into your energy to stop the mind chatter. Because that's the bad neighborhood, right? The mind chatter is the bad neighborhood, the shadow. And what I was going to share before was I've had visions in my sleep where I'm actually walking through the bad neighborhood, right? Because, our consciousness picks up our pictures and everything that we need, that we see during the day. So what happens then is, like, for example, I'm heading to a university in my dream, right? To a university building, and there's this beautiful man right in the middle there saying, come with me. Come on, beautiful. Let's go and have a party. Let's go and have a drink. But that right there and then I said, no, thank you. I need to go ahead of me. There's something I need to go. I said, no, thank you. And he goes, okay. So I found myself at the university. So my point is, even in your dream state, you're going to test yourself to see whether you're going to stop or keep going, right? There's another example that I'd like to share is the other day, even my client had that experience. Right now, we're moving through a corridor of our energy. So it looks like this, literally looks like a corridor. The goal is to keep walking through it. Don't stop. If you see something pretty, don't look at it, because that prettiness is false light. I had a client who said to me that she was having that experience, and someone was holding her hand and walking through, with her, and that's her high self, right? But she stopped to take the gift, and the gift turned out to be acid, which ate her hand away, which meant she should have not taken that gift. She should have just kept going, right? And I had the same dream as well, and I had a part of me holding my hand, but I just saw myself running right through it, right? So right now, every person, whether they believe it or not, is going through a corridor of energy to take them to the next stage of their development or their expression. If it looks like a bad neighborhood, it's because you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
Right? Because the false light, the dark light, whatever, that's very real. And we cannot deny that anymore.
We cannot. So true. We cannot. We cannot.
So, so I'm very grateful for you ladies for doing what you do, because you're showing people how to be their process, so the person next to them will want to know how to do it themselves.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how that worked, and I think as you rightly said, and thank you for the great work that you're doing and both of you're doing, because the world needs it, and it's nice that you were able to tap into your passion and tap into your gift and now you're serving at a broader level, just helping others to find their path and to be healed from whatever they need to be healed from, and give them a new lens to look at things from so that they can travel on their journey in life. So that's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what I do
And they're
because
very joyous.
yeah, because I love me. I love Gabriel. I love Zorian. I love my galactics. I love my angels. I love all the energies that want to talk to me. Like I can, the other day in a session, a galactic being wanted to be part of the session because it was offering help to the human, right? But I could actually understand the little mantis, through light language, right? So I speak light language. I teach people how to speak light language. People say to me, I can't do it. I eventually get them to speak. Right.
She did me when I was told that I couldn't.
Wow.
Yeah. And I felt the energy going through it. That was a little bit of
Wow.
but I felt it from head to toe, and I left my feet in two great big waves. And I was like, the
That's
only person
amazing.
I've ever experienced that with was with Teresa, of the person.
But it's amazing, Tom, what you have chose with the wave behind the lake or whatever is it you chose there. It's just a perfect timing to have that. The picture that you have chosen.
Oh, that's where I was born. I was born on Lake Michigan. That's a lighthouse. It's been there. We used to run out in the ice there when we were drunk and young and stormy.
But
Yeah,
sorry,
that is symbolic. That's what
it
what
is.
this format is to bring the light to you folks out to the world for the people can resonate and they can be attracted to who they're attracted to help spread it and help grow. That's my dream. That's what Karen and I both saw. Didn't we? That's why we agreed to be here this time in this place.
That's so beautiful. That is really beautiful.
This is beyond my wildest dream to have the four of you on
It's
right now.
it is amazing how the connection and the linkage. But I guess everything is so strategic how it happens and bring folks together.
But if Karen's not talking, like I'm saying, she's working. And by the way, both of these ladies are what you Australians call carers. They're hospice nurses, and they help souls pass over.
Mhm.
And they've got some wonderful story. Tell the story about when you got knocked up in the air on your moped with by the
Oh,
bus.
wow, that's
And
back
you're,
in my country.
yeah,
Uh-huh. And so I was a nurse there. I was a medical rep. I sold products for the company 3M that is here. And so I was, going, as you know, a sales rep, they go from doctor's office to doctor's office, marketing medical products and stuff like that. And this particular day, but before I leave, because we always have a spiritual background, this is how we grew up, that's part of us. We just have evolved to another level being here. And I always bless my bike before I leave so that I can have protection in front of me and behind. So I went out this one day and I was coming back with my going back to the office to take the orders and cash and whatever. And for some reason, it's like an express highway, which buses are coming back and forth. And for some reason, this minibus came and it hit me. It tossed me right up in the air, and I fell in. And it more and more as you think about it later in life, it's like there was somebody came and just kind of grabbed me off from the road and pulled me aside because another minibus was coming. And they go fast, it's a crazy highway. It's very quickly. And my bag that I had, my handbag that I had with all the cash and checks and whatever to go take to the office, there was a woman who was standing a few steps away who witnessed it. Now, this woman, just being strategic at the right place at the right time, knew me because she comes to the hospital where I had worked at the time, and I took care of her. So she held on to that bag, how strategic that could be. She held onto the bag, and I was pulled aside. Where she said, "I know this nurse. She's Nurse Joan. Da 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 da." And they asked which hospital I need to go to, and then I didn't lost consciousness, even though I got up in the air and tossed because the bike, now I was going this way, the bike was turned in the next direction.
Okay.
And so she held my bag. They called the ambulance and got me to the hospital. This is the hospital I worked at the time, and got me there. And no injury sustained, no concussion, no broken, nothing. And I mean, that's just an angel who really cushioned me at that point in time. Now, my sister Karen, she was living very further off, and somehow I don't know how the message got to her. And she ran from where she was barefooted because just the two of us, just the two sisters, and come to see me in the hospital. But to say all of that is like that was awakening that something so traumatic happened, and only the universe, God, whatever your belief might be, was able to protect me because I could have got a fractured skull. My back could have been broken, my legs could have been broken, absolutely nothing. So that was something. That was something.
Tell your
Well,
side
that
of
would
the story there, Karen. We ran barefoot for miles and got to the hospital, and she was fine. You were pissed off.
Yeah,
The funny thing
that
is,
was
when I
something.
got the call, I ran from home barefooted. I don't even know what was happening at that moment because it's just the two of us alone and we are very closely knitted, right? So I just ran out. It's like I was running like lightning, maybe. I don't know how I reached the hospital so quickly. When I got to the hospital, I keep telling the nurses, I said, I want to see my sister. And they were saying to me, you gotta calm down. You gotta sit down. You gotta calm down. Then we're gonna take you to her. So I sit down. I try to calm myself down. And then they took me upstairs because she was in a private room.
Mhm.
And they took me upstairs to the room. So when I got to the room, the perception that I had about the whole thing is that she probably got a broken leg or she call it fractured or something, dramatic, real dramatic. So when I entered into that room, I was like, you had an accident,
Wow. Yeah,
you know?
that was
And
something.
then she said, yes, I had an accident. And I was, oh my God. And I hugged her and I said, you know something? I said, thanks to the universe for protecting us and taking care of us, that, that we still could be here. And
That was something.
the funny thing is that we things happen to us for some reason, and I always tell people that when things happen, look at things with a positive eye, not a negative eye, because it's a message it's trying to tell us, you know. And I'm so grateful that she's still here
Thank you. I'm
because we're able
grateful to
to
you too.
join together and be able to do things for other people in the world,
Yeah.
So that was a blessing.
Thanks for
It
letting me
was.
share that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you've shared it
that
on here twice, but
Hmm.
Katerina, I was going to say something. Tell the story about getting up in the middle of the night at 3 a.m. and going out walking. That's where I was kind of like, what? Okay.
That was my awakening because there come a point in time in your life you become so confused. It's like you don't know where you're going, where you're heading with your life, and I got up in the morning and I said, oh my God, what is happening? And for some reason I just left the house. I just started to walk. I didn't even know where I was going. The place was pretty dark. So could you imagine a dark place and you just walking, going, you know? And I remember they had these guys was in a car and they drive up and they asked me, where are you going, girl? Could you imagine that hour in the morning, nobody out. You were just walking, going, a car put up with men, all men, asking me, where are you going? And I never answered. I just continue walking. I just heard a noise, but I continue walking as Katrina said, I continue walking. And I heard one of them said in the car, that's a ghost, right? And they drive off. Because maybe they became scared, so they drive away. So after they drive away, I turned around and then I went back home. And as I reached into my yard, there was a sliver of a moon, and I remember I knelt down in the yard and I opened my hands and I asked the universe, I said, what is happening to me? Show me what is happening to me. I need to know what is happening. And then I went into the house and I went and I opened my Bible and I started to read. And I remember the story with Nebuchadnezzar, with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I don't know if you guys know that story. And after I read the story, something hit me. And when it hit me, I said, oh my God, I'm going through the fire, but I know I'm going to come out. And when I come out, I'm going to be so magnificent. And this is what is happening right now. That was my awakening moment. Yeah. So we each have some awakening moment.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many other stories that I could tell. For instance, I was telling Tom one time, I had a dream about a man. I never saw this man. I don't know this man. I just saw this man was sitting talking to me. And about 3 years after, I saw the clothes the man was wearing.
Mm-hmm.
And about 3 years after, I saw this man with the same clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that kind of freaked me out.
That was amazing.
That freaked me out, because could you imagine that you saw something in your dream years and then 3 years after you saw this identical person?
Wearing the same thing.
Because you
Yeah.
manifested him, that's why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the funny thing too is that he sat down and he was talking to me about spirituality too, and about my life. Same way how I saw him in the sleep talking to me, in real life he was talking to me. Yeah.
Well, that's the
And there's so
awakening,
many
right?
other stories.
Well, that's the awakening when you wake up in a dream and you're actually in a different frequency, and you're actually consciously awake and you're having a conversation. Yes. So as you raise your frequency, the more of that will happen, and then you will
Yeah.
manifest it in your physical life. That's manifestation at its best, right?
Yeah.
That is so true.
Because between 2001 and 2010, I did a lot of work with my team, as I said, and I used to have visions of going to different places in my dream state, energetically. Well, 2019, I physically did it.
Wow.
Like, as in, I had to take a group of people. I think I've said this before. I have taken a group of people into a meditation, and we had to go somewhere on a mission, and we had to rescue some souls or whatever.
Right.
Now, 10 years before, I had a vision of going to that place. I saw what it looked like. So
Yeah.
fast forward to the meditation, I knew exactly where to take people because I recognized what it looked like, you see.
That's amazing.
So your visions and your nighttime visions are sometimes there to show you, because somewhere down the track, you're going to do something that needs that picture.
Yes.
So you can recognize it. So when you physically do it, you're in the right place.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yes.
Yeah, and I've had
I'll believe that.
experiences like you talked about with seeing the man. I've had a lot of those experiences, and what I found was that when that time did arrive, it was like pay attention. This is important.
Yes.
Whether it's a place or whether it's a person.
Yes.
Yes.
Teresa, you've been awful quiet. Can we get you to talk a little bit about your spiritual awakening? It was pretty funny. Like when you were 29 or something like that, you said, okay, who the hell are you?
Yeah, I've had several, but the one I think I'm referring to when I met my guides, or is that the one you're referring to? Yeah, so that happened 2001. And I kept hearing very strong to go to the certain man and have him do a reading on me. And I didn't even know if the guy did readings. I just met him. I didn't even know if he did them. And he did, turns out. And first thing he says to me, he says, "Oh, I see around 26 angels and guides around you." And I thought, well, that seems like a lot. What does that mean? You know? But anyway, I decided that I wanted to meet those 26 that he saw. And I didn't know if I could do it or not. So I just was in my room. I got quiet and I said, okay, I want to meet those guides. And one thing that happened to me, and this happens to a lot of people, and you could turn this off immediately. I felt like I was in New York City, Grand Central Station. There was people. It was right after 911 had happened. They were calling. They were saying, "Tell my mom I'm okay." You know. So all of these dead people were coming to me with messages and the voices, like people say, the voices. And I said, "Whoa!" I said, "Whoa, no, stop! Everybody leave right now, except the ones that Carl saw the other day." And it immediately got stone silent. I'm like, "Ooh, hey, this is pretty cool."
Yeah.
And I said, "Okay, I want to meet each of you." And I had 3 questions with each of them. I said, "What name can I know you by?" Because I had already learned they could tell me their name, but that doesn't mean I could pronounce it. And because a lot of the angelics and all, they don't have names like Michael and Raphael and Gabriel. They have names like, it's an energy signature. That's how they know. They recognize each other by their energy. So I asked each of them, "What name can I know you by? And why are you around me? What are you here for? And what can I do for you?" And I want to tell you, they were so excited that I asked that 3rd question. So I just saying that one for everybody out there, when you do connect with your guides and your angels, ask them what you can do for you. So they told me, they said there's very few that ever think to ask what we can do for you. And there's so much you can do for us. And when you tune in, that's when you're like what you're saying with Katarina, you know, you just know, you go here, you go there, you do this, or like you say, Karen, they'll send you a picture of a man, you know, that's coming or whatever. So that's when you really open, is when, what can I do for you? It's so important.
Yeah.
But I was blown away because I said, okay, you guys queue up. You guys decide who's going to come in first, second, third, and fourth. And I didn't know if I could do any of this. So the first person that shows up was a guy I knew when I was a kid that had died. And when he died, I hadn't seen him for like 2 or 3 years. And I almost had a nervous breakdown. I had blisters in my hands. And I never could understand it. I didn't have any crush on this guy. He was an old man to me. He was my, you know, he's 20 years older and I was a kid. And I never, and then I had other people. My grandparents died. My dad died. Friends died. I never had that kind of reaction. And I never understood it. So I said, so here's the first one who shows up. I said, well, what are you doing here? But each one, he said, I'm not really one of your guides. He says, but you've had this question. And so what he taught me was about soul contracts. We had a soul contract coming in. And he was going to be there as a father figure for me at a time when I needed it. And I was going to be there as a comfort for him when he needed it. And that was the exact circumstance that had happened when I was 8 years old. And so we had that soul connection. And so when he died, it was like the soul connection thing that I was not understanding. But he also taught me there was conjecture about whether his death was a suicide or not, because his death was, he lived out in the country and there was a railroad track that didn't have any kind of warnings or anything. So, and there was a curve right there. So you really had to stop and watch. And he had always been anal. His family told me he was anal about nobody leaves in the wintertime without defrosting your windows fully. It was like he knew it was coming, that this was coming. So he was so anal. Roll your window down, listen, and all that. Well, on that day, he didn't clean his windows at all. It was been snowing and frosty. He just had enough where he could see. And his engine was cold when that train hit it and killed him. So everyone wondered why he committed suicide, because he wasn't suicidal. He had a really good life and everything. So he taught me about checkout points. He says, when we come into this life, we create several checkout points. And when that checkout point comes, it's done not on a human level, it's done on our soul level. Okay, have we done enough that we're ready to leave? Did we learn the lessons that we needed? Are we going to go any further? So the soul will decide yes or no. So the soul that day, he told me, the soul said, today's the day. No need to clean everything off because you're going. He had no idea. He said the human self didn't. The human self was already like what happened with you, Joan. It's already pulled out of, well, you may not have been put out of the body because you got the comfort zone. But he said he was already out of the body. He never felt the train or any of that. And so that was my first one coming through. And I had several others that were humans that coming in with messages. And then we got to the guides. But they each taught me something different in a different aspect. And so it's just amazing. So when you can meet your guide, but if I can do this, you can do it. You know, so tune in and ask.
Yeah.
How do my clients ask, how do I meet my guide? How do I meet my higher self? You got to get quiet. Spend that quiet time. And you
Sure.
have to be discerning, because pay attention to the energies. These dark entities now can make themselves look to be Jesus or Buddha or whoever. They can emulate light, but they can't emulate it for very long. And one way to test them is to, if you can actually visualize and see, make them look you in the eye for at least 15 seconds. Because usually they can't hold the fake light any longer than that. And you'll, if they come to you hooded, if they turn around and so you can't see their eyes, then they're not of the light. So stay away from it. But it's very important to pay attention to the energy. If they're coming to you, you're maybe an ancestor, something that's coming to you, even in your awake time or your sleep time. Maybe someone you love that died and they're coming to you. If they're still blaming and shaming you, then that's somebody that's emulating them. They're mocking, they're mimicking them, and they're trying to get your confidence so that they can harass you with your old fears and limiting beliefs. So be discerning of the energy. When you're into the light being, you'll know it, because they're all love. They're all help. They may tell you to do something that takes you out of your comfort zone, but it may be for something that's for your higher good. And you have to watch that. That's tricky to know, because sometimes it takes you out of your comfort zone and you didn't have to experience that either. There's those pitfalls.
Wow.
So that was my main awakening. I had another one at 911 when that hit. The Twin Towers came down. I had a really weird experience, and I'd love to hear if any of you had the same, if that was one of your triggers. Because what I was taught with that was that there are certain events. Not everybody has certain events that are going to trigger them into something. But for me, in my pre-incarnation contract, I knew there was going to be a terrorism attack, and it was going to really trigger me. I thought it was going to be Disney World. And then I finally found out later that before they did the 911, they were planning on doing Disney World. And they switched it to the Twin Towers. But anyway, I had a huge awakening there, and I found myself jumping up and down with joy, screaming, yes, yes, now they're listening. Now I can do my work. And I was like, I found myself in this yay thing. Well, they're showing all the people dying, you know, and all this chaos. And I'm like, whoa, what was that about? So I went into meditation and asked, and that's when I learned that sometimes we have major trigger points that pushes us into our awakening and into our work. I knew when I was 13 years old that I was never going to retire. Not how people talk about retirement. My work was coming in the later years. And I also knew that there's going to be a time when my work was going to really start, and it was going to be 50 or older, which was ancient to a little kid.
Yeah.
So what did you guys, any of you have a certain event, whether it was a world event or something in your life that really triggered you? Like Karen, you were talking about your, like you're walking in the dark.
Yeah, that's
You walk out of the dark.
It's like you think, you know, things are happening in your life and you don't really understand what's really going on, you know, because I was not fully awakened yet, so I did not understand. So something had to wake me up, you know, for me to understand exactly what's happening with my life at that point in time. And I was never the same after that day. I was never the same. Never.
Yeah,
Everything just started, synchronicity just started to happen. I started to meet people who started to tell me different things, you know, and I started to read. At one time, I remember I went back to my country and I came back. And when I came back, I locked myself away like for like 2-3 weeks. I had no communication with nobody other than my sister and my mom. And I just locked myself away, and I went real deep down to myself. And that is when a lot of things like books start to show up. synchronicity started happening. I started to read. I started to understand exactly what's happening, and from it was just a spiral. You know, it just started to spin, and everything just started to fall into place. But for that to happen, I had to trust myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I did not trust myself, I would not have been where I am today.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta trust yourself.
What about you, Joe? What was one of your main catalysts?
There's so many things, but it's like even coming from the same accident that happened, it really has transformed my life as well in the moment because something so traumatic that has happened. And actually coming to think, I had a dream before this has happened, but sometimes it's a little foggy that something what is
Mhm.
going to be happening. And I think that is why I was at that time I became more prayerful. I was reading my Bible more, dealing with my Psalms, and just kind of protecting myself. And I think just by doing that, I think in my belief is that that is how I was saved because something like that, another minibus could have run me over. I could have lost all the money that I had on me, and strategically somebody was there. So that my vision, my lens, my perspective, a total different insight to know that there is a higher power than me, and that I just got to believe. I just don't worry. I just stay trusting because it was an awakening moment. There are so many other
And
things that
for instance,
happen. Sorry.
like yesterday, she said she was led to do something. And before the night was out, there was a call to her, leading her in the direction that was being told to her early in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that happens often, and I think also we do get like dreams, like same thing that you guys were saying before, like knowing things before it actually happened, and then maybe a month too, because sometimes it can happen maybe a couple months, maybe it's a year later, because sometimes those indication or those signals or those notification is not telling you for now, but it's there showing you that this is what is going to come.
I had one experience
I'm
when I was
actually,
around 13, and I was in a movie theater, and they were doing all the ads, and they had an ad for the opening of Epcot, which is part of Walt Disney World. And while I sat there, I just knew I was going to live in whatever town that was near. And it wasn't like a Disney World fantasy or anything, because they didn't even mention Disney World. It was in Epcot. To when I was that age, it didn't really appeal to me, the thought of that. So I know it was just pay attention. You are going to live where that city is. And when I married my husband, got out of the Marine Corps, we could go anywhere in the world. They'd move you for free. And I knew immediately. I knew it was time to go to wherever that Epcot place was, which by that time I knew was Orlando. And he had the same intuition, so that's how we ended up in Orlando, and just knowing. So we
Yeah,
need to pay
that's
attention. That was one of
amazing.
those. It was so huge that I knew it was going to happen.
I've had words. What were you going to say, Katerina? You've been trying to say something.
Yeah, she's got the delay going here.
yeah, it's that energy stuff, right? What I was going to share with you was that I've just written it. I've written a chapter for a co-author book called Collaboration, and I've just written a chapter about get up, keep going on your journey to embody your higher self, and it talks about my first awakening. So maybe I could share my first paragraph with you
Sure.
Yeah.
about my awakening. So the story of my awakening starts at 14 years old. A school friend came over to my house with a little red book, which you all know as the Bible. She felt she needed to convert me to Christianity. That evening, I was laying in bed trying to fall asleep, which was difficult because I'm empathic and felt the energies around me. I started reading a couple of pages, And you must understand, religion was not a big factor in my life. Being labelled as a non-Christian or Christian was never important to me. As I fell asleep, I had this vision. I was standing in front of heaven's gates. I had this heavenly feeling about how I was calm and peaceful and welcoming, a feeling of love and knowing that everything was going to be okay. And as I watched the gate slowly open, suddenly, out of nowhere, my vision changed. In the next scene, I was in a blanket of darkness, a feeling of being cold and not wanted, a feeling of being very frightened about what I saw. And what did I see? Well, I saw the devil, my version of what that is at 14 years old. At that moment, I woke up screaming. I just knew I was the light. And why would I be plunged into the darkness like that? What did I do wrong, and how can I pull myself out of here? And the answer was, I have agreed to experience the darkness of this physical world. Unbeknownst to me at 14, I would be spending my life in transmuting it into light. As I was crying with confusion, my mother came to me and held me and just said it was a silly dream and not to take much notice of it. Well, I could do nothing else but take notice. And so my collaboration with my spiritual self at this time was to journey into the energies of darkness. So that's how I woke up. Right.
That is truly
So
amazing.
so this was the beginning of my journey. I just knew in my heart I woke up from the illusion of the world and the fact that there is something much more to me than what I knew and was told to me by my parents and my schooling and everything I read and heard. This started my dark night of the soul journey, and I walked straight into my high self 20 years later at 55 years old. At 14 years old, I didn't have any self-esteem and I didn't have any value of who I was, and I was always reminded how unworthy I was. So this chapter is about how at 16 years old, I just knew I had to, first of all, keep getting jobs to keep me working, because I had this, because at 16 I was feeling insecure about things, and there was a ghostly lady in a rocking chair next to my bed, and unbeknownst to me at 16, it was my higher self. Right. And she said to me, "What is it that you would like?" And I said, "I want to always have a job to give me the money to be independent and to be loved for who I am and to work with spirit." Because I knew then that my purpose in this life was to help as many people as I could through their darkness and to activate their light, to be connected to the higher aspect of themselves that just was waiting to help. The idea of knowing what that would be like and how I would do that just did not enter my thoughts. But I was determined at 16 years old or even 14 years old that I was going to fulfill this purpose, no matter how it turned out. So here I am at 55 years old, and I've just integrated my 11th dimensional grandest light so I can do my work. So that's part of my story. So that book's coming out soon, ladies.
Wow.
Great.
Tell us when it's on Amazon. We can purchase and support it and get a copy.
Yeah, well,
Read
it's
more
going
of
to
that.
24th of September. It's going to be released. It's called
Congratulations.
Collaboration, and there's like 17 of us. So there's people talking about collaboration with community or business. I talk about spirit and how I connected. And then right in the middle of my chapter, I let Archangel Gabriel through, and he wrote that paragraph about why it's important now.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
Beautiful.
amazing.
And it's only going to cost 99 cents US because it's e-Kindle, and the money's going to go to a charity.
Can,
Beautiful.
can I plug Teresa? Teresa's written like 4 books, 3 or 4, 5. Teresa has 5
Number
books.
5 came out today. Number 5.
Beautiful.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she has another one coming out written by, well, you've got one written by Pearson.
Yeah, this one that came out today is a compilation book also that I put together. I have a prison ministry, and I put my first book, my messages, I give that freely to, well, let me go back a little bit. I was guided to write this book. They tricked me. I didn't know it was a book till I got in about this far. They didn't tell me it was going to be a book because they knew I would resist it. And
Yeah.
because I wanted to be off the planet. I did not want to do my work. I wanted to be off the planet. And I said, okay, I'll write the book. So I wrote the book and I said, okay, now what do I do? The day I finish it, what do I do? Thinking, okay, I'm going to get this marketing plan. They said, well, if you don't mind, we would like you to put this in all of the U.S. state and federal prisons. I'm like, oh, God, I'm never going to get off this planet. Well, I found out that there's like 3,500 or so of these. So I did it. I got 1,100. I had to contact each prison personally 3 to 5 times at least to phone calls and stuff. So I got it in over 1,100 prisons. And in the front page, there is a message to inmates. If you are an inmate with more than a year to serve, then you can get the book for free. Just write me. So then I had to put my address in here. Oh boy, that was a good one. I put my address for all these inmates. You better get me off this planet fast.
Yes.
So that was. So I've sent several thousand books. It all comes out of my pocket. Everything that I earn that I don't need for my living goes into the prison ministry.
Have you ever heard of a P.O. box?
Well, that's what I had, but I lived in a P.O. box in a town of less than 300 people. You're going to find me if you go there. It's a small town. So, but anyway, but this book was spawned off of that one in a way that I invited 10 of the inmates that I had made friends with over the years to write about spiritual lessons that they would like to share. I told them the gist of it is, think of yourself, if you have an inmate that came up to you and you only had 24 hours because you were getting shipped out or you're going home, and he asked you about what can I learn spiritually from you? What would you tell that person? You got 24 hours. What lessons would you want to share with your fellow inmate? And so 10 of them, I knew it was going to be 10. Some of them I hadn't written to in a couple of years, and they showed up coincidentally after 2 years. And yeah, so it just came out, like I said, it just got approved through Amazon and on my website today. So, and all the money goes to continue. And this book also will be given freely to inmates. It's made for that main purpose. And anyway, that's it. It's called Enlightenment Behind Bars. That book.
Beautiful.
Behind bars. Wow.
Yeah. And
Well,
it
this
was
is my
very good for the inmates themselves too, because it gave them confidence. Because if you can imagine, they're in the belly of the beast. They were in the worst place possible. You don't want to be vulnerable.
I
And
spent 3 years in one. Yeah, I
yeah.
know.
So, and how comfortable would you have been, Tom, about going around telling everybody about your beliefs in Jesus or whoever? They don't talk about the spiritual stuff.
Actually, I met some of the best people and the best souls I've ever met in my life inside. Got long bitters that have been down for a long time, or were leveled down by level 2. And they changed my life. It really changed my life. I'm very grateful for the experience, and that may sound insane, but
A lot of my inmates tell me the same
when
thing.
I changed, when I finally changed from the total selfish piece of shit I was.
Yeah, and a lot of my inmates tell me the same thing. They make it their ashram or whatever, because one of the things that the prison will do, you can still make your own booze if you can get away with it, but most of them got dried out. They didn't have access to their alcohol and their drugs anymore, so they were forced into sobriety, and that was enough sometimes to help them go within. A lot of them were in solitary confinement when they had their awakening. It was like, because there's nothing, and when you're in solitary, and a lot of them are so bad that the only interaction you have is when the guard slides a tray through a hole in the door. You can't see anything, so no interaction. You can hear everybody screaming and yelling around you because everybody else is going nuts or whatnot.
The noise is incredible, and
The noise is horrible.
let's let Katerina talk here. She's been trying to talk. We keep talking over, and with her delay, she gets talked over every time.
Guys have got to go now.
I know.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, but let's hear what Katerina had to say. Finish your thought. Yes.
I know. I was just gonna share another pinnacle moment
Yes.
before I go, because it's like 1:45 in the morning.
It's 11:11 here.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a
Yeah.
good number.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share that, see, back in 1988, I had a car accident and I should have died because of the way it all happened. And but then I found myself standing in front of a cave with a celestial being, and it was Archangel Gabriel. And I asked why I was here. And he said, you need to go into this cave, which was a really dark place, right? And I was afraid and certainly not aware of the bigger picture. And then I asked why. He said, you need to go into your own darkness to learn how to walk and see in the dark without the light, so you can switch on your golden grandest light. Then you'll be able to rid the world of its demons. When you know how to switch your light on with your courage and strong sense of self, then nothing can stop you from being the human being of much sovereignty and wisdom. This gift will be yours to share with others, to show them how to master their own light. By mastering their own darkness, be assured I will always be with you. And when you return into your light, a beautiful world of abundance and higher frequencies await for you. And that's where I am right now.
Wow,
Beautiful.
that's amazing.
So what I want everyone to know is it doesn't matter whether you clean toilets, whether you make beds,
True.
whether you are a guru, whether you are a priest, whatever. Tune into yourself and find your message, because there's always somebody who needs to hear it. Because I always say to my clients say to me, but what's my purpose? I said, the lady that goes and cleans the toilets, that's her purpose. And I bet she enjoys every minute of it. So how about you find your gratitude and be grateful that you're able to sit with me and talk about what you want, because otherwise you would have closed yourself off and not received the help, right? So that's kind of my message. Be open to receiving help. Say yes, and then the right people will come to you. Because as I'm experiencing right now, like my galactic friend Zorian, he just landed somebody in my lap who's going to take me into another level of consciousness now. And when Gabriel stands there in front of me and just does this, I know I just have to do it. Doesn't matter what happens.
Right.
Right? That's my book. Right? When I was talking to the lady who wanted me to do this chapter in her book, I had no money, like I didn't have enough money for it. I was a little fearful about, because this means I'm going to become visible. This means I'm going to certainly come out into the light, and everyone's going to get to know me, right? My website is being made right now. So when I was talking to this lady, I was a little fearful, yes, because that meant all of that, right? And Gabriel just standing there going, so I just said yes.
Forward. Yes.
Yeah.
The money came. I paid for what I had to do. It took me 4 months of going down rabbit holes to even write my story, because I had to go back to my 14-year-old self, give her a hug and say, everything turned out beautiful, darling.
Nice. Love it.
So this is what I help people do. So yes, this is going to get me out. I'm suddenly going to come out of my cave, because I've been in my cave for too long,
Right. And the world is ready for this moment from you.
Yeah, and my team have kept me humble. Like, my team know that if I get a little bit up here, they pull the rug from under my feet, and let me tell you, I've landed on my ass many times. Right?
Yeah, that was one of the messages they gave me many times. Watch your ego. It said you failed many times to hit the mark because of your ego, and over and over. I'm like, oh, but I want to do that. Yeah, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to say that? Why do you really want to say that?
Yeah, right. That's
Well,
what. Yeah. So that was the agreement between me. That's the agreement between me and my team. So I'm very humble about what I do because, and plus, I know it works.
Mhm.
I've
Yes.
gathered my strength and courage to say, you can't tell me this doesn't work anymore, right?
True.
Because it's proven. Yeah.
And that's where I encourage my clients to get to, because once you know that your process works, nothing, even outside of the planet, cannot take your light away
True.
from you.
True. That is so true.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm really grateful that I get to spend time with you lovely people.
Yes,
You
same here
to
too.
be
We are
you
grateful
here
too. And thanks to meeting you all. And Tom, you always do such a lovely job. So thanks again, and we will continue
Yeah,
to
thank you
This
so
was
keep
my
up the good
dream
work.
right here. This is my dream, just to have you four on here.
Clarify spiritually. You know, one man with 4 women, that's a lot of their dreams.
I can just tell none of you ladies would have even talked to me in high school. I just know this.
Oh, I wouldn't talk to anybody. My esteem was too low.
Mhm,
Mm.
Man, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we ready to wind it up?
And I need to go because it's like 20 to 1 in the morning for me. Maybe next time. Yeah, look forward to the next time.
We were talking about doing this in the evening, our time, because that's her morning, and Katarina's available, so we could do this in our evening, in their morning. We'll get together and we'll find a time that'll work for everybody.
Yeah, usually, about 8 a.m. in the morning is around between 4:30 and 7 p.m. American time, depending on where you are.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah, you are 13 and a half hours ahead of us. So you can go from
Yeah,
there.
it's 12:48 a.m. here. It's going to take me an hour to come, to wind down
I imagine.
but I really enjoyed the conversation and the company, and I feel very grateful to have been in your
It was
company
very
tonight. So
educational,
thank you.
inspirational, enlightenment for us too.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And to
Thank
the
you, thank
audience,
you.
everything we do, you can do and more. You
I
just gotta
love
get past the box.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the
Thank you for listening to me just on and on about what
No,
I do.
your message is powerful.
Oh,
Yeah.
those sisters
Yeah.
they're doing a lot that you're not you're not aware of. I guarantee you.
And
Karen's doing things and Jill.
and thank you for in the opening speaking about self-care, because we have written the book on self-care, and I think it's a message coming from you to us which we receive, because recently we've been focusing it, we've been giving it as ebooks, we have hard copies that we are sharing with others, and that is a message for us too. Just you saying that is just telling us that we are on the right path, focusing and helping others
Of
in that
course.
direction as well.
I would like
Yes.
to get a link. We need to get together and get more links for that material to be available to people.
Yes, we will
Yes,
certainly make that
self-care is
possible.
very important.
Yes.
Self-care is very important. I had
Oh
to
my
learn the
God,
hard
yes.
way too.
Yeah.
You all need, especially, self-care is really important, because if you can't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to help anybody.
That's right.
And that's
True.
when the demons come into your space and try to take control of your light.
Yes.
Whether you believe me or not, I don't
True.
care. That's what
No,
happens.
it's true. It is true.
I'm not saying you. I'm just saying it out
No,
loud, right?
yeah. Generally, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I tell my clients
if
that
we-
you might not
That's
believe in the
amazing.
demons, but they believe in you.
That's right. That's
True.
right? That's right. And I know I've faced these I've faced the dark light, and I know exactly. I know their little tricks. You see, because I had to hide my light to become the dark, so I can learn how they worked. So now I'm going to tell everybody their little secrets. and they are hating me. They're just trying to stop me, right? But they can't stop me.
No, you're
Because
unstoppable.
they can't stop me now because I have a beautiful team around me who are giving me all my self-worth, all my self-love, all my self-value and an empowerment, because
Mhm.
I'm going to get rid I am determined to get rid of them off the planet, you know. That's why I'm here.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
For
you,
being here.
darlings.
Good.
I
Thank
must
you.
go.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Namaskar.
Have a
Love
blessed
you
day.
guys.
Thanks,
Thank you
Tom.
so
Love
Talk to
you.
you
much.
Have a
soon.
nice day. Thank
Bye.
you.
Well,
Good night.
we'll
Bye.
figure something out. Maggie, I'm gonna put a link on your page to Katerina and Teresa, and also to Karen's page, so that people can find you. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tom.
Thank you. Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you.
this,
Bye.
this is
Bye.
Love
why I'm
you.
alive. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.